Give me a little more credit. I got in trouble last time.
No problem.
All right.
Why is Zero trying to marry me?
It is. But look at the size.
Really?
All right, it's true. Yes.
All right, we're gonna call this to order. Madam Clerk, we have a roll call, please.
Chair Van Jacobson,
Here.
Vice Chair Swicker,
Here.
Board Member Brown is absent, Board Member Singer,
Here.
Board Member Zuckerman,
Here.
Chair, you have a quorum.
All right, we're gonna do public comments. So just before we start public comments, we've set up the room appropriately now so that there is a area in which the speaker can speak. We expect everyone to stay in their seats or areas by their seats and to remain silent throughout this. There's the exact information, Rule 705, in the front of the handout. Mr. Vilsticki.
Shlomo can do it, you can do it. Hidar Levi Vilsticki, 9148 Froud Avenue. Okay, I want to talk about a couple of issues that are before you today in Articles 2 and 3. I'm really concerned that our commission manager form of government has been under attack in the last year. The way this town is supposed to work, the town manager is supposed to operate independently of the commission, except when the commission in a public meeting directs the town manager. What's happening instead, the past few months, and especially exemplified by what happened December 13th and January 9th, is that the mayor is in town hall pretty much all day, every business day, directing the staff. This is a serious problem from the point of view of the management of the town, and I want to make some suggestions to address this problem. First of all, it should be clear from Article 2 that the mayor is just another member of the commission and has no special authority. Our mayor goes on foreign trips, views himself as kind of a diplomat for Surfside. None of that is contemplated by the charter. No commissioner has a salary of more than $1, and I think you should make it clear through an amendment that also includes in-kind compensation, such as free office space, so that we don't have a mayor or any commissioner hanging around town hall in free office space directing the staff, and I think that should be a change to the charter. I also think it's important to talk about the role of the town attorney that appears in Article 3. On January 9th, you may know there was a satirical email about the mayor that was received by some people in town. And I have grave concerns that town staff were involved in responding to this because it was a parody of the mayor's political emails. The town attorney was apparently advising the chief of police, and the town attorney made a statement that the parody was a kind of fraud. The town attorney, Karina Rango, basically said that the people criticizing the mayor were committing the crime of fraud. I think you should amend the role of the town attorney to make it clear that they have absolutely no role in criminal justice, because it's a serious problem if the town attorney is intervening in political affairs, especially if the town attorney is guiding the criminal justice system, trying to get the police to investigate the mayor's critics. That's a serious problem. I don't know how often you guys tune into the town meetings, but I have said publicly, I think we have a civil liberties emergency in Surfside. A big part of that is the way the mayor directs the town staff, and there's no accountability because he's not emailing them. He's in the building telling them what to do. When his personal emails were parodied, he was managing the town's emergency contact system, the one we use for flash floods and traffic emergencies, to issue statements to his personal benefit. This kind of thing can happen all the time when you have a mayor in town hall all day long, and that's not what our system contemplates. What's going on right here with the recording is really interesting too. There's no reason why the town can't be recording this meeting with a video. We've asked—
Sir, that's outside the scope.
No, it isn't, because it's relevant to exactly this point. I'd like
It's
those
not
seconds
relevant.
back. It is relevant. You haven't allowed me to explain. The reason why we have to do this is because the town manager hasn't conceded that. Why hasn't he conceded it? There's no good reason for us not to be video recording this. It just takes the press of a button.
Time's up.
But the mayor is in there.
Sir,
making
time is
sure
up.
he doesn't
Thank you
want
very
to-
much.
I was cut off, so I think I should get a couple of extra
You
seconds
actually
to
got a
explain
number of
the
extra
point.
minutes because we didn't start the recording on time. Okay, we are doing 3 minutes for each speaker, and we will keep 3 minutes. Ms. Salzauer.
Robert, you want?
And the 3 minutes are,
Eliana Salzhauer, right? Is this on?
No, we're not recording it, so it doesn't need to be on.
Eliana Salzhauer,
Tower 9317 Bay Drive. I will speak very loudly for the 1983 tape recorder on the table. I want to continue where my esteemed neighbor left off. The fact that we have to spend our time and money recording this, a very important, the most important charter, the most important board that we have had in a decade, the Charter Review Board, where you guys are making the suggestions, the strong recommendations to the commission, which we know is just going to rubber stamp whatever you came up with because you were given marching orders before you got here. They will rubber stamp it and put it on the ballot. This process, this sausage making, is very important for residents to see. You say that there's rumors and not things true, and things are not true on Nextdoor. The truth is the only thing that you have that sets you free. If there's nothing to hide in these meetings, then broadcast them, live stream them, record them by video, because we're going to be recording them and we're going to be posting them, and everyone will know that last week's meeting, 2 weeks ago, you all agreed that you wanted 5 more feet in the residential section, and you also tried to take a stab at the charter amendment that passed not 11 months ago. Okay, that is not okay, that this is happening in, quote, secret, in darkness, with an audio recording when we're sitting in commission chambers and we have a $100,000 audio-visual system in this room with a press of a button, we could be broadcasting this. This is a deliberate evasion of creating a public record, as is the mayor working in town hall all day, every day. By having conversations, and all of you, including the new town manager, are pushing conversations to the phone instead of via email to directly evade creating a town public record that we can make requests for and that the media can make requests for, and that's got to stop. Everything needs to be conducted out in the open. We have very strong sunshine laws in the state of Florida. Anything, any gifts that were given, any points, any quid pro quo that was given in order for appointments.
Point of order.
One speaker is off.
You are not a member, you are not the administrator of this committee. Okay, your power is not at this table, Mr. Mayor. Your power is 20% of commission vote, except for at those meetings where you love to sit there and swing the gavel.
Please stay on topic. How does this proceed?
Sure, Chair Jacobson. Thank you for taking this, control of this meeting.
Point of order, all comments need to be addressed.
You know
to the
what?
chair.
You are speaking out of turn, Mr. Mayor. It is not your commission. If you are a seat at this table,
Point of
then the
order,
two of
Mr.
you
Chair.
going
All
anywhere,
comments need to be
including to
addressed to the
Dubai,
chair.
is absolutely
Please
out
respond
of
back to
order.
the chairman.
What is the question?
Please continue to respond just to the chairman and not to anybody else.
If the chairman of this committee, okay, of this important board, used his personal points to give a favor to vacation with the mayor, that needs to be a public record. There needs to be a gift receipt filed with the state of Florida to admit to that, because that is, you are a elected board member and that falls under the records laws of the state of Florida. All of that needs to be public record, and that needs to be filed with the county and with the state. I would urge you to do that. We already saw it in the mayor's presentation that that's what happened. A quid pro quo appointment to this board is not okay.
Time's up.
Oh, thank you very much for your courtesy.
Yep.
All right. Mr. Kusklis. I have 2 cards from you, just to be advised we are.
Well, I filled them out for the agenda items, but it's really 3. We're in item 3.
We're grouping everything together
Exactly.
in one shot here, so.
Yeah. George Kuselis, 9225 Collins Avenue. If we could focus on what you have to do here tonight. Because I gathered from my various sources that last previous meeting was a bit of a free-for-all. It didn't make much progress. I would stay focused on the article in front of you at a particular time. Do not stray right or left. I think that's very important. These 2 particular articles, 2 and 3, are very straightforward, and in fact, most of the stuff falls into the category of the work week begins on Monday. Why would we even open that up? It's just so, you will probably find that 95% of them don't even need your attention. The easiest way to deal with that is to kind of almost use it as a consent agenda. Unless any of you pull a particular section out of it, why even discuss it? You'll just waste your time, and it's not necessary. Of course, that would only work if you guys have read the packet beforehand, but I'm sure you have. The other thing, when you're debating these things, keep in mind the relationship of the charter, the code, the town code, the whole town code, not just the zoning code, it's one giant thing, many chapters, and things like the comprehensive plan, and leave those details that are best left to other things in the place they belong. Briefly on section 4, because that came up last time and you may reach it this time. Just try and say things simply. If 120 feet is the priority and the limit in this town, just say it. If you look at how it's expressed in the code now, it's done, it references an out-of-date comp plan and everything else. Just say it. And I endorse 120 feet is the limit. I'm not trying to uncork that, believe me. But just say everything simply and stay focused on the article in front of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, if I could have them, so we're gonna close public comment. Anyone else in the room would like to speak? It's closed. Can I get someone to approval of the minutes?
Right.
Okay, second the minutes.
All right, all in favor?
say aye.
Aye.
Can I please know who did the second?
Mr. Soccerman did, made a motion to approve, and, board member Sweattinger seconded.
Okay.
All right, so we're gonna open up 5A, Town Commission.
Okay. Chair, if I can begin, if that's all right with you?
Please.
So first of all, I'd like to make a recommendation that perhaps we could sit across from each other. Is there a reason why we have to sit this way?
Well, generally.
Maybe more in a workshop type of format.
If it's
Not-
okay with
I don't know why there's this format, but.
Sandra.
But anyway, I learned from last, like 2 weeks ago, and I felt like a deer in the headlights as I was telling you when you came in. But I've got myself in order, and I'd like to just get it out there, and if we can talk about it, I'm sure you've all done the same. For me, everything is pretty straightforward. There are some things in here that are very confusing, I would say, and I would like to request that the town attorney go through the charter with a fine-tooth comb. I don't know if that's a request that we have to make to the mayor and commission to allow the attorney to do such. I don't know this process, but there are many items in that need to be striked that have either been repealed or superseded. So for example, in Article 2 and Article 3, in terms of Section 25A, also Section 31 and Section 39. So it's going to start with 25A.
So are you referring to all of the items in here that at the end say, by the way, everything you read is no longer in here because it's been preempted?
Correct. Like, say the Constitution or for the provisions of 25A appear to have been repealed by the Municipal Home Rule Acts. And then you have another one on 31.
So there's a lot if you go through
Yes.
the next two sections.
Yeah.
And I guess the directive we can give to the town attorney is to put onto the ballot where they strike all of these items in our charter which no longer are part of the charter.
Right,
Because
so-
they've been taken. So if that's something you'd like to put forth,
Yeah.
we can, have a motion on that and then the town attorney will go back and put that in.
Can I just ask a question?
Three examples.
wait one
Well,
second.
I think they're kind of humorous, so.
All right, give an example. I would love.
Let me finish.
Yeah.
Let me get comfortable. So, 31, take out 31. Let's see, 31. Oh, before 31, sorry. I found 25A to be humorous. Why is this still in here when it says, that it shouldn't be? Why, is there an example that the town attorney can give us regarding $1,000 or by imprisonment in the town jail?
Well, I mean, I don't want to start to go down the road of.
No, I don't want to go into each one.
Each one, but.
So highlight, if you would, if you haven't done
But
already.
there's automatically in here. They can go
Exactly.
through, and anything that
Yeah.
says the provision's been, repealed, the
Or-
attorney can then put that all together.
Or superseded by the Florida Constitution.
So
Anything
hang on,
else?
so let me just clarify one aspect of this.
Yeah.
You guys are an advisory board, you guys are making recommendations.
Yeah.
So you're making a recommendation to the commission to direct us to do that.
Yes.
So that's how that's what
Or
you should approach it.
Proposing to the chair
So-
Correct.
to do
It's
such.
kind of like condo docs. Anyone who has original condo docs, the first 2/3 of it is about the developer, and the developer is gone now. So it's, whenever you pass those out, they're very thick and large. Here with the town commission, the town charter, this was created a long time ago, and we're superseded by the state. We exist because of the state. And at this point, it's time to shorten this and make it more easily readable.
Right.
Eliana, if you could please go back to the back of the
I
room.
can't see your faces because it's.
I'm sorry, you have to be back
The
in
board
the
is
room.
here.
Just point of order, Mr. Chair. We've set up the room in such a way that creates an environment for the board, the committee to meet and discuss. Anyone from the audience, they're allowed, more than welcome to report, but just please respect that there's an audience like to do that. Please, that can be addressed.
Ms. Alzano, if you could please return to the audience section
This is-
with your camera.
This is part of the audience.
That's not part of the audience section.
That's
Those are
not
stack
part of
chairs.
staff.
Because of Commissioner, with all due
Wh-
respect,
where's
that-
Judith?
that is an egress, just,
An
you're
egress?
more than fine there.
Egress, huh?
All right, so
You want to go around to the other ones?
So I mean, do you have anything on that topic or item?
yeah, I mean, my question is, somebody was about to say, like, we have to make a recommendation, but if these provisions are basically taken out because there's a state law that supersedes it.
We're not discussing it here today. It's just
Right,
a waste of
right,
time.
like, so we can just make that recommendation,
Right, so the recommendation, if everyone agrees with it,
because I circled that 100 times, and I'm like, why is this in here?
Right, so if someone wants to make a motion that would, put a recommendation to the town commission to remove all of the superseded items in the charter, that would be a great motion to put
Can we
forward.
ask the attorneys why this is in there? Is there a particular reason that we're not thinking of? Just to be
It
thorough.
doesn't get removed automatically.
I'm happy to answer that. Yeah, it basically, Mr. Davis just answered it. It doesn't get removed automatically. So it's just never been removed, so it's still there, even though it's superseded by different aspects of
So
state law or the Constitution.
they're useless items in our township.
There are unenforceable items, yeah.
So I support your motion.
I can't make a motion because unless I make it pass the
That's my
gavel, but
motion.
if, I guess I'll pass the gavel to the vice chair and,
Okay.
and make a motion to.
Request the town attorney to go through the charter
To remove all of the
strike all
items that are,
provisions
yes.
that have been either repealed or superseded.
Could you repeat the motion, there's two people talking?
Yeah, please.
Go
All
ahead.
right, so the motion is to instruct or to make a recommendation to the town commission to remove all of the items in the charter, and we're talking the entire charter, that have been superseded or taken, or, unenforceable or repealed by state or other superseding authority. Do we have a second?
Second.
Want to make a roll call or just say aye?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries.
Wonderful. All right. You have a,
Yeah.
you want to keep going? You're on a
I
roll.
want to keep breezing through
You're on a
because I
roll.
want to go back to the last item on our agenda tonight. So, section 31, advisory boards. First, of course, the preference is to find somebody within the town of Surfside, but if that's not the case, perhaps the charter can also put in there that expand the search outside of town of Surfside, maybe within 20 miles, 5 miles, I don't know, that's my recommendation.
So I know that, we obviously, we can have it open for discussion.
Yes.
I know all of these boards, everything from our board, tourism, P and Z, they were all required to be Surfside residents, across the board. So if you change that for this, now this board now has a different set of requirements than every other board out there.
Would like to recommend that we expand the search. Has there been any problems? Maybe the city, the town attorney can enlighten us, because I was aware of that there has been a problem in the past looking for, maybe an architect on a planning and zoning board, for instance, that they couldn't find within the town, so maybe expanding that search. That was the only reason why I brought this section up.
So through the chair, what the commission has done in the past in those situations where they haven't been able to let's say, they've modified the qualifications a little bit. That's a very specific issue because it requires certain, an architect, a landscape architect, designer. Right, basically, and you need to have a certain number according to what the commission implemented. So what they did in that case was just modify the qualifications a little bit to address that situation.
But they can't in this one because it's in the charter.
Well, this would be a charter provision. What I think what Ms. Wedrum is proposing is to say, where something like where a resident cannot be found, within after a diligent search, the commission may appoint someone within X miles of, someone residing at the next unit. That's the proposal.
And through the chair, that's addressed through the code itself. That option is allowed to expand the criteria through the code itself, right?
No, and according to this charter provision, we're stuck, we're stuck, we're limited to residents, right? So,
So what we do to accommodate is we expand the requirements, or we open them up.
correct,
Then-
we've changed the qualifications to be able to appoint other residents.
Yeah, and if I may, to the chair, too, if you don't mind,
Please.
town manager. Each board has a different, like, tourist board has a different section, and it also applies to like business owners. Or we have DVAC, DVAC is open to business owners, not specifically to town, town residents, business owners in the town. So there's also a section in the code that talks about town boards. So you have to be careful because they might contradict one with the other. So that may be
So
something.
what is this referring to? What type
It's
of board?
town boards, but it's just the minimum section. If there's a section in the code that explains more related to town boards, how they are done. And then you have planning and zoning, which is a different section in the code as well.
Right.
So you
So
have,
Clark, what you're explaining is, anything that impacts this, just make sure it doesn't have a consequence on anything specific within the code. That
Or-
one's a requirement for that specific,
that, or maybe that suggestion could be brought up forward to the commission, and it could be changed in the code, not specifically in the charter.
But shouldn't the charter, since the charter has hierarchy, shouldn't it say not just a legal resident of the town of Surfside? While that should be the preference, shouldn't at that point it be recommended to
I mean, I don't
expand
know
the
legally,
search?
but then you're locking that forever, unless if there's a referendum.
Right now, it's locked in forever as a legal resident.
resident.
And we have what, 6,000 residents in here? So the fact that if we need a personal appeals board, which I don't believe has been used in quite a time, we should have some residents step up and take on that role for that item. This is not a very active situation, so, yep.
Just, I know we hire people outside that don't live in Surfside, like when we did something with the tourism board, we had Bruce Raquel, do some work for us, and so how do we get, like, it doesn't feel like this is an issue for the town now. Just, maybe explain what this is supposed to do that we're not doing on a day-to-day basis, because I know for a fact that we're hiring people.
This is not about hiring, this is about if you have people like our board right now,
Right.
we are all serving on here, we're all residents of Surfside.
Right.
So the Personnel Appeals Board is the only board in here that's actually in the charter itself directly, and in the charter itself, it says they have to be legal residents. So that means the commission doesn't have the ability to go outside, right? If the, in the case of a board, they're not hiring anybody, it's literally a board that convened, they get a grievance of personnel, and then they close. But I would say that, at least in my opinion, I would not move forward with that because I think Surfside residents need to judge upon Surfside residents and not have outsiders in here. So I don't know if the consensus from the other two.
Yeah, maybe the question would be, do we have examples of when this could be an issue? Like, do we have any record of situation where we were struck because we didn't get people, local residents, to be able to execute?
Yeah, but through the chair, just that one instance is the one that I can recall, which was the P&Z board. But it wasn't like they couldn't meet and conduct business. It was
Right.
not like, it didn't put everything on hold or anything. It was just, they couldn't fill it out for a little bit without changing the qualifications, or they had trouble filling it out. So it wasn't really, didn't have that much of an impact.
All right, so
Well, again, my preference is to keep it within the town of Surfside. It was just adding to expand the search. I'm fine, we can move on, there's other things to do. I was just curious to see how they changed it to make it work. What did you have to do to?
They just brought in, so they just changed the number. There were 3 members that were required. I'm working off memory here, but there were 3 members that were, I believe, that were required to be certain positions, and they just added certain occupations, and they just added other occupations to just broaden the scope a little bit.
These are just human bodies. For the appeals board, it's just human bodies, there's no requirements involved. So,
That's their experience
Order.
with things. Okay.
yep.
I believe the chair asked the residents to sit up and jump from the back. I find it very distracting to be here on the committee. with
Ms.
someone
Salzar, if you
walking
could
behind
please
me.
return to your seat.
I'm manning the camera.
There's no requirement to man a
I am
camera.
absolutely entitled to man the camera. I don't think you really want to go down there. Okay, this is a public meeting and I'm allowed to film.
You can film from
Okay.
the back.
No, I am allowed to film from the area for the public,
This
okay?
is now becoming a disturbance.
Because
over and
he's
over
making
again.
it a disturbance. He wants to sit here and text whatever he's doing. Go sit somewhere else then if you don't like it. I'm allowed to be here. I moved to the area that is public. I'm in the
You're
public
not in the
area.
public space.
I am in the public
There.
space. This is unbelievable. I'm in the public space. I'm running
Please
a
go back to
recording.
your seat. There are seats lined up.
I
You're
have
not
to
in the
man
seats.
the camera.
The camera is set up. You can go
No,
take your
I'm
seats.
manning the camera. What
You
is
can
your?
take the camera with you to your seat.
What? It's on a tripod. A tripod.
Mr.
This
I
is
guess,
ridiculous.
Mr. Town Manager.
Commissioner,
I am
For what?
in the public area.
Commissioner.
What?
For respects for the egress of that door, I ask you to
I'll
move
move
slightly.
in more then. That's fine. Here, I'll
Just
move in. Here, I'll
towards-
move over here. Okay, but I'm gonna man this camera.
Now you're good.
There you
That's
go.
fine.
You better-
That's truly
Thank you.
just
I can get even
give us that
closer now.
egress.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
to walk back.
Just that egress is what I'm seeking. Thank you very much.
Public area set up in the room.
Stop talking. It's not your
We're walking
meeting.
in an area that's
It's
not
not your
public.
meeting, dude.
Film from the back of the room like every other press
Not your meeting.
organization that comes
Really,
here.
every other press organization. I'm a resident. Okay, I'm not a press organization.
All right, last one was
I'm
section
having a hard
39.
time listening and concentrating.
Yeah, because you're texting all you whatever you're doing over there. So pay attention.
Mr.
Please,
Chair,
please do not talk. This is close to the public discussion.
You're doing
Yes.
great work over there.
Okay, so,
I think she got a
It's
couple
okay.
more. We'll just
Yeah,
keep
yeah.
keep on trucking.
no, that's fine. That's fine, we're good. You covered it, we covered it with that request to the town attorney.
Thank you, a little levity.
Okay,
Do you have any other items you'd like to bring up?
not yet, go, keep going.
All right.
I'll wait till we get to the
All right.
next item.
So I guess going back here, I actually had an item that I saw. First off, I know this has been discussed by many commissions before us. We're not the first people, but I think the job of the commissioners here to be paid $1 a year is kind of absurd. I think every commission before us has voted to pay some sort of salary. We're not expecting anyone to get wealthy on this job, but it is a full-time job. So I would make a motion to increase the dollar to what they deserve, which I'd say is what, $2? You know, that's something.
Sure.
But you know, something reasonable. I believe Bow Harbor is $20,000 a year. If anyone knows, do we know what other commissions are paid? Miami Beach, other areas? Do we have any sort of comps or anything?
we have that somewhere.
So I guess if you could pull that up and we can come back to an exact number, but I think it's pretty common to have some sort of stipend for the time they spend, as well as I think health insurance is also a pretty common thing. You know, if they're here working, they should be able to take care of their families. Pretty common.
This is for commissioners.
This is for commissioners.
Commissioners, yeah.
And especially the board members over here. You know,
Yeah, I was
you know,
gonna
for-
say.
But no, this is
Tom, I
for the
couldn't-
commissioners and the mayor.
Right, what is-
The 5 elected officials
Right,
to the
the 5
town of
elected.
Surfside.
They just voted that down on the ballot.
Yeah,
Please,
they don't-
please, one more outburst and we're gonna have to ask you to leave.
We did just have that ballot.
So we
what-
did have that ballot item, but at the same time, that was
We did.
That was a previous commission, and people generally vote on how the commission is acting towards its residents. So if you're upset with the people you have there, why would you want to give them money? If you're happy with the people you have there, you have the information.
Yeah, real quick, just Bell Harbor, Danny found.
Yeah, so the mayor is $30,000 per year, and annual salary for the council members is $24,000. And we could compare other cities, I only pulled theirs up
Yeah,
right
we
now.
could,
Ooh,
we
I'd
can
like to know the other.
come
Yeah,
back.
we can pull a couple cities, so we'll just keep that in the back end for a little bit. As we move into the next, item.
Just, Chair, I apologize, but I do feel I have to state this. Just, when the charter was written, this was perhaps a more passive commission. Commissioners are elected officials, and there's other elected officials within Florida that help. All I'm saying is, when elected officials speak of elected officials, it helps things move fluidly. And I think we're in a world and atmosphere where we're just much more global, where we're required, it feels like it's a requirement of your elected official to represent you at a higher level than just your community. Take your agenda to a higher level, take which the town needs, and try to seek, whether it's through pushing appropriations by talking to other elected officials, whether it be state state senators, it takes a lot from an elected official. It does.
The amount of time that you've put
This is a
into it, is that
thankless
what you're
job. It
saying?
takes a lot of time. This isn't just prep for an agenda comp. This is listening to your community, truly carry what your community wants, and really speak with other elected officials and push these points to get your residents what they want. And it's a different atmosphere than what it used to be. And I think from that perspective, it's a lot that's requested from an elected official.
Previous commission and mayor probably could put a lot of the emphasis that what they went through during the unfortunate tragedy.
Right.
I can speak, for Mayor Burkett. He was involved heavily during what we went through, and involved a lot of coordination with other elected officials to get us things. I can speak for Mayor Deitch. He did a lot for us. For Mayor Danziger, you're going to meet with other elected officials. You're coming to bring things to your town that your town needs. It's no longer that town manager world. Elected officials speak with elected officials.
Right.
Town managers speak with town managers. And that's what you get in your community, what they need.
What's the downside of paying elected officials? What's the, do you find?
Taxpayer dollars, that's the only downside.
Right, again, the paying is just like, I just want to bring it up. I want to do a 360 analysis on this. Like, what's the downside? What if you get a commissioner that really doesn't do anything? They get elected, they got a nice personality, people like them, they get voted in, or they're disruptive to the community. Whichever side of the, I've seen a lot of commissions here that I don't even want them to be in my town commission.
Right, you
Throw 'em out.
you don't elect them.
Right, the second time.
You throw them out, you recall them.
What is
you
it,
do
2
you
years
do.
or 3 years? What's the?
Right now, it's 2
No,
years.
well, that's 2 years.
Yeah, right now.
My only concern, honestly, would be that it was a decision that was taken 1 year ago, right? Like, we can propose this to the commission would say yes or no, and then eventually neighbor would have to vote again, something that just,
What was the date of that vote again?
November.
November of 2021, if I'm not mistaken.
I mean, I can tell you, for just myself personally, I voted no on that because I saw the commission that we had and what was going on, and I was like, I'm not giving those guys money. And the question is, and that's once it's locked in, it's something that stays there.
It was the March ballot.
But everything is equal. And I think, when this was originally done, the commission meetings that used to be, they weren't that long, they weren't that much going on. And at this point, if the town is, enjoying what their commission is doing for them, then they will vote in favor of it. And if the town feels that the commission's going in the wrong way, they're gonna shoot it down again. And it doesn't really, I think this is, again, a question best suited for the town, for the ballot, and not for any person to pick, which is why it's in the charter. I don't think we should take it out of the charter and make it a commission thing. I think we should leave it to the town residents to decide.
Does Bay Harbor do they pay?
Aventura does something, Miami Beach does.
But I'm trying to find sort of 6,000
Oh, Bell Harbor.
residents. Bell Harbor's a
Harbor,
great
yeah.
example. but-
I liken it to a corporation who gives more money or a percentage of ownership to their company, because if you invest in them, then they'll work even harder.
Well, I also think you're removing part of the electorate, because there are people out there who are hard workers who work day and night, and they can't afford to run for commission, because if they run for commission, they may not be able to do their regular job. And right now, this is restricted to the wealthy, the people who can go out there and have the time during the day to actually be able to do the commission operations, or they really can't do their job as commission. So this gives them the ability to allow others in the town to take this role.
Can we just go, there was one thing that I circled in here that I can't find right now, but about the interaction between the commission and the town, professionals.
but before we jump.
We gotta, let's
wrap
go
it
in
up.
order.
They're all kind of
I'm trying to,
interconnected.
I
Let's
know
go- yeah, we
I
should
know
go by order.
We should go by order. I know I let Lori kind of run through this whole thing, and
Thank you.
I very
was
much
well
appreciate it.
organized.
If it was well organized, she had a list, but now let's just try to keep it in order.
Yeah.
We'll zip through it, we'll get to the end, and then we'll all go.
But my question is more how does that, are we doing, somebody from the public said something about, working every day. Is that the expectation of this position? You know, like,
If they were working every day, then we would, I mean, truly every day, then, right, we should start them at, what, $50,000-$60,000 a year? I mean,
Right.
that would- but they're not employees, at the same, there's a difference between being an employee and being required to do something, and then being more of a volunteer, but if you're volunteering, and especially in a town like us, which is now a wealthy town, you should be reimbursed for the time you spend into it. Not at a highly profitable level, but at least, you know, at least if you just take the commission meetings, the presentation from the manager before, you know, dealing with emails and phone calls, and you don't do any other time in this building, should be about $20K, right? You wanna go above and beyond, you wanna be here pushing for the town, yes, it's gonna get you reelected because the town's gonna be working better, so you're gonna have all these different things, but at that point, it's still a volunteer job.
Right.
So, you know, I don't think anybody's paying full-time job unless you're a county or even the state, they don't pay that much. What do they pay a House rep in Florida?
I don't know if it's
30,
I
40,
can look it up.
quick Google search, I mean,
Let's look that up.
and that's, you know, a much higher position, and they, you know, so.
and they have to travel.
They have to travel, so I'm trying to keep it to a number which is, you know, just a more of a reimbursement on minimum work required.
Right. If they're wealthy, they could donate it, or if
They
they're
could-
not, they could, you know, offset, you know, some expenses.
Yeah.
18 grand a year, unless you're the president, the Senate president, or the speaker of the House, where you get 25,000.
Wow. Plus all the side deals. That's crazy.
I don't know what you're talking about.
18,000? All right, so, I mean, we're, you know, that's the reimbursement, you know, it's,
Right.
so the question is, we want 18, 20, 22, I mean, you know, I think, you know, we're open for numbers here, but.
Is it our position to recommend a number, or do we just recommend, putting it on the ballot?
Well, they have to put it.
My advice to you on this matter, see what other cities are doing, and listen, you don't have to come up with the answer now, it seems like we have a consensus for what you may wanna try and do. See what other municipalities are doing, a lot of municipalities have geared towards this, a lot of other municipalities have offices for the elected officials, if you wanna add that, you know, it's offices for the elected officials, not just one elected official. It's a common space for them to work, it's fine, it's normal, it's happening, a lot of charters are changing towards giving them some kind of stipend for their efforts, it's normal.
Do they have an office now?
I-
Elected officials?
Through the town manager, I did provide in a certain area, 2 offices for them to work out of, they're more than welcome to work out of there, and this has been localized to the elected officials, yes.
So.
Through the chair, Miami-Dade County has a compensation report for all the cities that pay their elected officials. And I think what you were alluding to is, since this is a commission manager form of government, you can look at other cities that are similar and how they're paying their elected officials versus like a strong mayor form of government.
Do you have like an average or something there?
I don't have an average, I mean, every city is,
And we can come back to you with
Come
the
back to
analysis.
you.
Let us break this down and find those cities that have the same form of government.
Medley, Miami,
And everything's strong.
yeah, the strong mayors, yeah.
So let me try to pass the gavel and make a quick motion here to hopefully rein this all in.
The chief executive.
So I'd like to make a motion to increase the compensation for the town commission for a number to be determined at the next meeting after we get an average with the attorneys. And that's it. Do you have a second? Or you?
Second.
Roll call.
All in favor, say aye.
Favor.
Any
Aye.
opposed? The motion carries.
All right, that's salary. Presiding officers. So, right now, we've got terms of 2 years, which are on here. You get elected for 2 years. Is this the area where you,
No,
well, it specifically states in here, shall for a term of 2 years immediately following.
we're going to discuss that one, it's Article 6, is that correct?
So which are, Tony?
No.
No.
The section number 8 says.
For
term
2
of
years,
yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pertaining to elections of the elected official, it's called out in several parts of Article 2, not just one. You will see it reoccur as you go through this flow.
So I'm gonna start in the first place that it is here, is that it says 2 years. This is the first,
That's
this is the
the
first
first
item.
Through the chair, sorry, it's mentioned in section 5, where it says the commission shall have 5 members elected from the town at large, in the manner and for the terms provided in Article 6. So it's also referenced in the term is referenced in Article 6 as well.
So yeah, there's multiple places for the term, so if you
We'll
wanna.
get to it, because we're
And
doing.
Right,
April.
but if you wanna make a proposal, I guess what I'm trying to get at, if you wanna.
Yeah, I mean, this is.
We will have to
Fine.
change all the
We'll find
references.
where we
So,
can fix it.
right, so you know, I mean, I think that our, you know, all the towns around us seem to all do 4 years. Right now, we have this staggered government system of 2 years, and you have a whole group come in, a whole group come out, and a whole group come in. There's no stability for the town. It's every year it's a free-for-all. Every 2 years it's a free-for-all. And I think, you know, whether you like the people or you don't like the people, if you don't have that very nice, smooth transition, where there's always somebody from the previous, there's always someone moving forward, you end up with the chaos we've had over the last number of years, where there's turnover from staff, there's turnover from elected officials. It's like it's like, you know, there's a new person all the time. And, you know, I think a lot of towns have made that switch from 2 years to 4 years. If you look at all the capital projects we have in town, parks, undergrounding, you know, every single system, nobody can ever focus on the long term because they're always worried about their short-term reelection campaign. And that's not a way we need to run a town. We want to run with a nice plan of continuity in government. And I would, you know, I just want to see what the other members of the commission, I would be in favor of adopting the 4 years that I think almost everybody around us has in a staggered session. So every 2 years you would have 2 to 3 people being elected versus all 5 seats every 2 years.
I hear you, and I definitely think the continuity thing is, for a small town like us, you should have more continuity than 0. If everybody gets elected, you know, if there's a new group of people being elected. But 4 years in a small town like this just feels like, you know, if there are people that you really don't want on that commission, you know, you know, it's not a senator where they're scrubbed and they're, you know, we look into their backgrounds and we really know who they are before they're elected. Let's be honest, we don't know, you know, most citizens don't know the commission very well, right? I think we got very lucky with the commissioners that we have today, right now, but because they seem pretty level-headed individuals. But, you know, taking that politics aside, like, how do we do it where the terms stay shorter, but the achievement of the rotating, you know, concept stays in there? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't, you know, like, you know, as much, you know, like the media is going after everybody who's, you know, that is sort of in the national news or whatever, or the local, you know, at least a mayor of Miami-Dade up. But the Surfside Commission isn't, you know, they're not scrubbed. We don't know their backgrounds. We don't know what their intentions are.
This current commission actually gets the
We're a
full
small
media
town, though.
background.
No, okay, and that's a different
This one,
problem.
but, you know,
maybe
you
what you're
understand
saying
what
is
I'm
we
saying.
should find a section in the charter that could do deep dive on that part of the equation. But going back to Ben's point, I think that it's true that 2 years seems like a short term to make things happen. And at the same time, you put the city every year into
Chaos.
Right.
conflict and arguments, and so I would support that change. I would support that
I
change.
support that change. I would be very happy to make a motion. I was gonna do this in April, I had it down for April 5th. I thought that's when we were discussing this item.
We just shortened that
But-
meeting. Excellent.
Right. So, I'm completely in favor of staggering and having continuity once this is in place. It's not gonna be easy at first, because it's gonna have to be, there's 5 and 1 and 3, you're gonna have to start the first 2 years or something like this, but it's just chaos otherwise. I think we're gonna have to go through that bumpy road until it goes smoothly, so.
Can I ask
Yeah.
a question of the town manager? Is there any towns that you're aware of that have 2-year terms but have staggered? It all has to be 4?
I will, I'll give you my.
Yeah, you
my
can't
experience.
stagger. You can only stagger 4 years. There's only elections every.
The idea is not to have elections every 2 years.
When we're talking about staggering now, we're starting, right now we have 2-year elections. We
Right.
don't go from 2 to 4. because you have to have staggered. So they have some method, which Tony, you probably know more, is how they do the next 4 years of elections to get us onto that
So
program.
there's two ways to do it, right? The first way is you designate numbers, like this is
C 1 through 5.
basically, yeah, seat numbers, right? And you say seats 1 and 2, I mean, we have the mayor, so it's a little bit separate, so let's pull out the mayor for a moment. You've got seats 2 through 5, right? You would say, you know, seats 2 and 3, if you run for that seat, and you actually run for a specific seat, right? Those will be a 4-year term. Seats 4 and 5
Okay.
for a 2-year term, and then it goes to a 4-year term the next time. So that's how you start the stagger. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it is we already have the order of people. You know, the
Number of votes.
the number of votes. Yeah, the highest number of votes among the group that's running for commissioner gets to be vice mayor. That's the way our charter already works. We could say the 2 highest number of votes gets the 4-year term, the next 2 get a 2-year term, and then that would start the that would start it.
That sounds so much easier.
Yeah.
A question was asked to me, and from an administrative point, I do want to state something. It's hard to do capital planning in 2 years. It's hard to do any type of planning that involves a feasibility, planning, design, construction. I'm talking about infrastructure alone in 2 years. And what I've noticed over my tenure here through Public Works and what I'm, thankfully serving in now is that I have seen projects halted that are meant to be infrastructure capital projects for this town simply because of the will of a vote. And it may put in jeopardy critical infrastructure items that need to be done. So what you're doing is you're prolonging, you're delaying perhaps something that the town needs, inevitably it's gonna have to do, and you're stuck in a position where now you're rushing projects in 2 years to try and get them done, because we did not have time, leisure of a 5-year capital planning. You look at capital planning in 5 years terms, FDOT right now is looking for the next 5 years. So anything you go to the DOT today petition for, this commission is not gonna realize it, not gonna see it, because DOT is not planning already for the 4th, 5th year already. So at that point, is that the priority of that commission?
Right.
They have their priorities.
So would you be able to amend your motion to Tony's second easy plan over there?
Sounds great.
Sounds great. Do we have a second on that one?
I said.
Appreciate that.
And I guess we could restate that for Evelyn?
Yeah,
You
it's
guys
to
please speak louder. I
move
cannot-
forward a 4-year staggered term, and the way that it would happen is in the next election, whoever get the 2 members of the commission that get the highest votes will serve for 4 years, and the 2 that get the lowest votes will serve for 2 years, and then we will start the staggered term like that.
Excellent.
Motion by Suedro, seconded by Singer.
Okay.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
All right.
I love to watch you work.
Huh?
I love to watch you work.
All right, and by the way, if anyone from the town staff has a specific item that we're not sure is conflicting or causing an issue, please feel free to raise your hand and chime in as we get to the different areas.
Again, as you go through, I'll rely on the staff that's here today to please contribute. I think a lot of this we've talked and.
If I may, to the chair?
Please, go on.
Section 7 also talks about swearing in portion of the commission. So right now, currently, we have our elections on a Tuesday, and this section calls for swearing in the following day. The elections are not certified until later in the week. So currently, we're swearing in elected officials when the election is not certified. So that's something for the discussion.
So
How
does
long
that put
does
us
it
in a?
certify?
so-
Usually when it's, sorry.
Yes.
Normally when it's
What
a
week?
standalone election, which is our March elections, by the end of the week, usually are certified. So by elections Tuesday, by Friday, we get the certification.
We could say the following Tuesday.
However, when we are piggybacking on the primary presidential, it happens every 4 years. So like, for example, this upcoming March is the primary presidential. Those don't get certified to a couple of weeks later because obviously it's a countrywide election.
Sorry, can we just rewrite it to say, once they're certified, we will swear in?
So now we have to have
your
a discussion on that. So that, it's definitely an interesting one, because one thing that's nice about a town is they get elected, and then the next day, you see you guys up there, right? So there's no waiting around. You see how much in, Congress, when they're all doing their deals on the side for the next 2 months. The lame duck is terrible, and in a small town like this, you don't. So it is kind of put us in a predicament, because if there is a conflict, we've now sworn in people who may not be there. Now you got to throw them out. Courts get involved. So it's definitely something we have to fix. The question is, if we do that, how do we take the teeth out of these guys, right? So if the election goes on, right, and I don't know, if until they're sworn in, you really don't want to give them the powers to do anything except maybe emergency powers that are then required to be confirmed, by the commission that, gets sworn in legally. Something with some sort of protection, Mr. Mayor.
First of all, before I speak, I want to clarify something to the member of the public and the chair. I'm the ex officio, I'm not the commission liaison. The ex officio by Robert's rules can participate in the discussion, can even make a motion unless otherwise stated in our charter. I haven't been able to find anywhere where it says I can't make a motion, I don't participate in the vote. So that's why I'm speaking up. In regards to the item we're talking about, many other municipalities, I'm not making a motion. Many other municipalities, they swear them in later, a month or two later until it's finished. It doesn't mean they don't take office. They still take office the next day, but they're not sworn in, I guess, on the books.
Do we have a conflict of doing that, Tony? So if they take office but they're not sworn in, how that sounds even worse than what they have now.
It works in every other city.
If they take office,
But they're not sworn in because they're not certified.
no, they should be sworn in before. I would have a concern about that.
That just sounds backwards.
I would just have it, yeah, so maybe there's another way, maybe you restrict maybe you end the term of the previous.
The previous commission,
There's
the
no-
day of election.
There's no commission meetings till the
Right.
new commission's sworn in.
What happens if the hurricane hits that week and they need emergency funding to mobilize
That's a
the
great
building? You have to still allow emergency powers to exist, and the question is, who controls those emergency powers? So if the other commission is out, but they're not certified, and the new commission's in, does that make the town manager God for that 2 weeks? Like what do you do to protect against that?
That's a fair question.
What's the most recent city in Florida, and what have they done?
Trying to think how it works in some of the other cities. They
We're in
usually.
Golden Beach is next week, Golden Beach's mayor swearing in ceremony. He's been in office how long already?
But that's a ceremony.
That's a ceremony. Not
They could do a
official
private.
ceremony.
He's being the top.
Right. He's running the town already
So
since the
maybe
day
he was
after.
already the mayor,
He wasn't.
he's the new mayor?
And he hasn't had any swearing in before that, like a quiet
So
swearing in.
maybe they do something like that.
They have to do a
might.
private or something. There's no way.
It doesn't have to be a big, pomp and circumstance when you do it. It
Right.
just hey, are you, say the words, just take the oath of office.
So going back originally to your question, the way it is today, what's the conflict that we will have next year? We will have
The
a
conflict
delay.
is that if something happens, let's say you run for mayor and he runs for mayor.
Yeah.
And your votes are 2 votes apart, and when they do the hands, they actually pick
Hand count.
they hand
One by
count,
one, yes.
and they do an audit, and let's say that turns over, there was a mistake, now he's
You
the
have to
winner,
leave.
but I swore you in. So that means you were the mayor for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and possibly the weekend while.
Yeah, but there was
we
no
have-
commission that days. What can you
It's
do?
possible. It could be 4 weeks, right? The whole commission could get elected on a 2 or 3 point margin. Then
I'm just
also-
bringing it up,
The-
because it might be a issue.
The big question is what to do in an emergency, because you could write the new, code to say basically that the new commission will start once the election's certified, and there'll be no commission meeting until
The issue is not the commission meeting, it's who's running the town. Who's gonna do.
Right, if there's a problem.
Execute,
You know,
take
And, I mean, you
decisions.
gotta look at, what you gotta do is, I know the clerk has brought up this instance, what if? Well, the alternative is worse, right? Somebody who gets into office and he knows he's out in 2 weeks, you don't know what they can do.
Right.
The chances, when has it ever happened in the history of Surfside that there's been a recall because the count was wrong?
But recall is a total different.
There we go. Well,
Not
that's-
a
a challenge.
You know, a recount of,
On the same
of a
note,
thing. It has never
has
happened
somebody
in the
ever
town of
done anything
Surfside.
wrong, like after they were out of,
I'm just bringing it up because
Well, that's when the presidents do all their,
Shady.
what
They're
they
pardoning.
pardon everybody
Yeah.
happens,
Elected
one
November
after they're
8th,
done.
sworn in.
I'm just bringing it up because
You don't want that power.
you're swearing
It's a-
someone and
it's
the
a list of
elections are not
cover
certain.
Right.
That's the only,
Weeks.
again, it's your discussion, it's
So what,
your.
what if you, I mean, I guess you have to have someone who's running the town, right? So let's say you bring them, whoever wins the preliminary that night gets sworn in, conditionally sworn in to operate, and they're only allowed to do emergency powers until the election is certified, at which time the official ceremony will begin, and everything that was done during that time needs to be confirmed by the official sworn in people. Is that something that's Tony?
Subject to confirmation.
Subject to
So
confirmation.
basically, they're taking provisional actions, right? They're limited to emergency, whatever their emergency powers are. Under this, that's an interesting idea. Let us take, if that's your recommendation,
I
or
like that.
something to that effect.
I like it, it falls in mind that there's no meetings, nothing's done permanently until.
Right,
Right.
right. I think that's
And that way, if it gets flipped, there's no.
How many weeks do we give for the?
Based on the county certification.
Until it's certified,
Oh, okay.
Certified by the
Fine.
county.
Got it.
because that may vary.
Yeah, yeah.
And they, sometimes it's faster, sometimes it's slower, but it
Yeah, but-
doesn't.
and they have emergency authority, so we're good.
Right. They're the presumptive they're the
Yeah.
presumptive people who have the power to do the authority, and, under emergency powers only, to be confirmed by the final
Well, I have
certification.
one question on that, or issue, is because now you're beholden and you can be held hostage by the county. We have our own democratic process in the town, we have our own processes, and if the county decides they're not counting because they're busy for the next 6 months, we're not certifying our elected officials.
Does that
As
really
elected
happen?
by our public.
Is that,
Is
I
sworn
think
in.
it's just as likely to happen as somebody counting wrong.
I mean,
which has
I'm
never
sure
happened.
that the election laws are
If
by
we're
state
gonna
statute.
talk about what ifs, what
Yeah,
if
the
that
election
happens?
Election law
laws-
is by Florida statute.
Why
I
don't we
think
have
they can
Tony
almost take
double
an
check
election.
that?
It happens in the federal government all the time.
Yeah, I'm more concerned about like a legal challenge, like taking it to court and
the certification's held up for months because they're.
Yeah, I don't think it would be for months for a small town. I think they'd get to it.
Just so you know, even when the
Yeah.
president runs and the big certification for the presidential, the small towns still get theirs. Because it has nothing to do with the big race.
But yeah, I think that,
If it lasts longer than 2 months, they'll call the governor and he'll make the decision,
well, I mean, I don't think a judge is gonna stretch that out, especially if there's some kind of emergency situation where action is needed. I think the court will weigh in, but I understand the concern. We're gonna try which you proposed, and if it doesn't work legally, we'll try to come up with an alternative to present to you when we present this stuff to you. I think we hear you.
Awesome. So
Guys
that's
are looking
In
cool.
in the meantime, we're a strong manager format here, so wouldn't the manager just?
Well, the manager can only spend up to $25,000. So if a hurricane hits and all of a
But
sudden.
under emergency powers, he can extend that.
You can extend that?
Yes.
There's certain emergency powers that
Makes sense.
will inherit with certain rights to keep this government operating.
I think there's a mistake when these residents get up and talk about the management system of government. We live in a democracy, all right? You vote in your elected officials and they're the ones that are on the top. If you look at the organization chart of the town, that is who runs the town. The manager is that, he's the manager. We don't manage the town. The manager manages, we run the town. We set policy, we set direction. We can change anything, all 5 of us, and the manager works for the commission. It's not a manager form of government. It's democracy here. So contrary to what you hear when this opens up, the manager doesn't run the city. So if you're in flux with your elected officials, that doesn't make the manager, you still have to elect a body. There needs to be a form of government here. We're a town, we're a municipality.
The commission sets the policy,
Yeah.
and the manager manages.
Executes.
So the commission can't give over, governmental rights to the manager who's not an elected person and say, okay, when we start talking about this item and we say, okay, if there's a flux for 2-3 months and there's no management, now we have what? We have somebody running our government who isn't elected? Do you feel good about that as a voting resident?
I think Tony's got to
I think Tony's
make
got
sure
the-
it's got to be, that there has to be a commission that is giving direction in the case of a long-winded certification or emergency. And so, you know, we don't want the town manager to run the town for a long time, or in the case of emergency, we want to make sure the residents and citizens are working in cooperation with the town manager.
Point of clarification is, Chair, certain powers for the town manager are only allowed through the commission, for example, declaring a state of emergency. That triggers certain procurement rules that I can now use to try and address,
So they have to declare a state of emergency before you even have those powers. So we have to know,
There has to be a commission.
there has to be a commission.
There has to be a
The commission
commission.
will be elected at 8 PM the next day, and the question is, if we can do some sort of conditional process to protect against things flipping over and kind of, you know, look into the crystal ball and not be Florida of when was
The
Florida?
hanging Chad.
The hanging Chad Florida year, you know, like that, we want to
Al Gore.
avoid that.
So just to be clear, they would only, even though they're provisionally elected, until the results are certified, they would have the authority to be only subject to a declaration of emergency. If there's
Well,
an
emergency, whatever the
situation.
emergency powers are needed
Right.
to go through
Right,
that. So
and that's
declare an
what they would
emergency, if they have to do some sort of special funding, if you know, to operate, you know, I mean, someone has to talk to the attorneys when this is all going on, there's a case going on, so they have to be able to meet. Whoever wins the
De
preliminary
facto.
thing is the presumed commission that is sworn in to act in their duties as the conditional electorate, right, until they are confirmed by the county, which has never happened where it's flipped back, but everything kind of just waits until.
Okay.
Can I just ask, what if we do swear them in the next day, like, where's the risk here? Like, what's the rub?
No, there are some years, some situation where it doesn't happen the day after.
Right, so you're kind of,
So
you're in limbo.
I think we're the only ones. Because in
We're the only
Miami-Dade
ones that
County-
have this?
I think in Miami-Dade County we are.
So what does Miami Beach do?
It doesn't happen the next day.
It happens after certification, though.
Most of the cities do it after certification.
They do it after certification?
And how do they limit their rights for this craziness that
They may
we're
not, they
worried
might give
about?
them full power to go have, I mean, that's what US Congress does, they have months. Right, January is when they do it, and.
We'll look to see what Miami Beach does, what the city of Miami does, what even Miami-Dade County does. Miami-Dade County keeps some powers after the election, the commissioners. Because I know they passed a rash of legislation in those 2 weeks.
Right, and that's what, I don't want, changing this, I don't want to create that.
Mhm.
So if we're able to figure out a way to work with Sandra here, so the clerk's office is in sync with the county system and there's no conflict, and we can still protect the rights, and, you know, we can pull all that together to a really cool bill, hopefully others will emulate it, right?
Yeah.
And it'll be something to look, you know, upon for everybody.
So just to be clear, you do want to have, with the provisionally certified people, until it's certified for sure. Those people you want running the town, day-to-day, but it's, not day-to-day, but as commissioners. But do you want to check on their power, or do they have the full power of?
Check on their power.
Check on their
until
power,
they're
so
locked in.
the emergency
Yeah, I
powers,
like
got it,
that.
okay.
I mean, first of all, I think the easier thing would be to limit the existing, but I think we're looking at this wrong because our town in the last 3 elections has seemed to be wiped out. What happens when you have 2 new commissioners or a mayor and a commissioner come in? So they're limited in their ability, but you have 3 commissioners and 2 commissioners who are at full.
No, the commission itself is limited until the
But you have
certification
ones
needs to
that
be.
have, there's no.
If you have a quorum.
There are some that have retained their position.
Once we go to staggered elections. If we were to move to a
Or
4-year
they get
term,
reelected.
and the person is still in their, if we move to a staggered
No,
election.
even now, even every 2 years,
It's
we
all
have an
fresh.
election. It's not all fresh. We've seen it go fresh in the last 3 elections, but there are times where you have 3 or 4 or 2 members that have retained their positions.
They may have, or they may not have. If the results are in and it's a 2-person, they might not have actually retained their position. They might have lost their position and they're still operating.
And you still need a quorum to make decisions.
That's what I'm saying. You're gonna end up with a commissioner where 2 still have their powers
They
from
don't.
the last one and 2.
No, that's
No,
not
no,
what
no,
we're
no.
suggesting.
The
It's
existing
all
ones
equal.
are.
It's all equal.
And
Whatever
the-
they decide, it's all equal after an
I think
election.
what they're saying is the commission that goes out,
Goes out, they
and then you're
lost.
looking at giving some kind of powers to the new ones until they get
Right.
certified.
The new ones are there now, preliminary ones, because we've never seen a flip before. So the presumption is these new guys, whoever was elected is the ones who are gonna be sworn in and the ones who are gonna have the full powers. And we're saying until they get fully sworn in, let's limit their powers, so they'll wait a week or two or a month before they can start really changing things in the town.
If I may, Chair, to the mayor's point, though, once we go to staggered terms, we're certainly gonna have that situation where there's an elected, you know, if there's 3 new electeds, those 2 that have the 4-year terms.
They're still in their term.
They're
They're
still
not-
going.
Can
Yeah.
you limit legislation during that period? That's it. It's like you can't legislate.
Why are you trying to stop your government?
But
For,
you have to.
I always try to
For
stop
a month or two?
I agree. A week.
We have a
A week.
situation.
You know, I mean,
4
we're
days.
sitting here talking about something that has never
We need
happened.
a quorum.
Why hasn't anybody asked, when was the last time this happened within this district or in the county? We're trying to solve an issue that doesn't
Just
exist by
happened.
creating more
It
issues.
just happened.
Yeah, it does
Just
happen,
happening
but,
maybe.
but I think maybe the
What's
fix
happening
is
here?
just too,
What?
unfortunately, maybe
How
the
many
easy-
times have we talked about issues that we never addressed because it just
Right.
opened up 7 more doors that cause more problems?
That's a potential for that. I mean, the easy fix is if there's that situation, they're, until they're sworn in, the existing member's term is still going. That's,
Well, I don't like
I mean,
that.
that's how-
Existing
that's how
term,
a lot
when
of
they
cities
lose,
do it.
they're out, for sure.
all right.
Because you don't wanna have angry, disgruntled, legislatures running around your town. I'd rather have the guessing ones that we think may or may not have won, because at least they're happy they think they won. You don't want the people who lost.
At least they're happy.
They're happy they won, so they got 2 years ahead of them at least, maybe 4. You don't want the people who just got thrown out to have the keys to anything. You want their access codes terminated, their keys removed, at that moment.
Code for what?
What?
Access code to what?
The nuclear weapons, I don't know.
this is not, I mean, this is like a little town. I wanna get back to little town kind
Little
of
town
thinking.
things, yeah. All right, let's see what
You
you
know,
can come,
like,
let's see what you can come up with
We're
to
trying
try
to manage a
to.
group of residents that wanna
Sandra,
just
are
live
we
their
getting
life
to where you
perfectly.
feel we need to
Yeah.
be?
It's up to you, I'm bringing up things that I've seen in the code, and talking to other clerks are not really what is customary.
Oh, great, we need that.
And usually when I say I'm sorry, I have a sorting tomorrow, other clerks will be, wow, and you're not even certified yet. So I haven't never seen a problem here. I've seen a close election, which like 11 votes, and it's kind of like, oops, like I don't know what's gonna happen, but I don't think in my tenure here, it has never created an issue.
It's never flipped.
All right, why don't we have Tony look into this?
Yeah,
I think
Tony,
he-
Tony,
I think he
look-
understands
I'm
the
just giving things that
complexity
I've
of
seen.
this.
Tony, do
Send
you
it
have
out
enough,
and
do you have
amend
enough direction, or?
It was a lawsuit in
He's
Medina,
really
but
trying to-
I
Okay.
think it was turnover.
All right,
Move on.
moving on. So you got through 7, 8, anything? We already spoke about the 2-year terms.
Yeah, we already did that
Yeah,
one.
we know.
Anything else? All right, 9.
Duties.
Duties of the mayor. Anyone got anything on that?
You know,
Boom. 10. Duties of the vice mayor.
no.
No.
Powers of the commission.
I do have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Number 1, appoint and remove the town manager. We don't have a municipal judge. We don't have an associate municipal judge. Town attorneys, prosecuting attorneys. I don't know if we could create, kind of a ballot question to remove things that are not.
Those were already instructed to the attorneys to go through the count and remove everything that was superseded, or so that would be
But
already.
this one wouldn't have that
In
language.
this case, Sandra, I mean, the municipal judge is tied to that language and creates it.
Okay.
I would agree there. I mean, I would just say task it to that level, to
Okay.
go into that deeper. So obviously, we don't have municipal judge, we don't have associate, we don't have that because of the home rule. You see where it's quoted, where it's stated.
Where it says that the home rule.
So anywhere you have that type of discrepancy, we would have, okay, good.
So that previous motion, we did everything, so that
We'll cover
Yes,
anything.
we'll
So I'll make sure it covers up to that detail.
Right, right.
All right, all powers of the town not specified. So at the end of the day, if the charter hasn't given people powers, according to this, all powers of town not specifically conferred on other officers, employees, determination of all matters of polity shall be vested in the commission. So if it's not specifically in here, the commission has the final say on all matters. Is that correct? The preamble to.
Stating the first paragraph.
First paragraph of section 11.
Through 15.
Tony?
Oh, I'm sorry, I was looking at a different provision.
Section 11, all
Yes.
powers.
Yeah,
So basically, if it's not specifically in this document, the commission has the authority on all matters?
all powers that not specifically conferred on other officers, employees, and determination shall be vested in the commission. Yes, that's what that says.
That's what it says,
That's
okay.
what it says, subject to applicable law.
Right, which is.
Yeah. So, all right. Anybody else have any other questions on powers?
And this is one of those sections that we need to look at in that catch-all, because there were certain amendments in the Municipal Home Rules Power Act that may affect some of these provisions in the powers and duties.
So can we find out about those powers and come back to us if there's anything that we have to amend or change on that? So I think that will, as we move on through this, I think we'll go back to that.
Yeah.
So the town manager has the ability to regulate and restrict location, number of stories, height, size, cubic.
Whoa,
Town
wait a
commission.
second. Town commission,
Commission.
town commission.
Oh, that's commission, got it.
Yes, and we will get back to the regulation, we'll get back to 9 as we go back to 7A, 7A, yeah. Sorry, 6A. 6A, so we can skip that for now. Anything else that anyone wants to bring up in the powers of the commission? Write a commission to order an inquiry. I'm just gonna read through them and say something if you got something. Appointment of the town manager. Removal of town manager. Commission not to interfere in appointments or removals. Vacancy on commission when deemed to exist. So this is one of the questions as to who determines if a vacancy exists or does not exist. And that goes back to section 11, which does the commission's powers determine whether a vacancy exists on a commission or not. If someone dies, do we need a death certificate? Is it certified by the county? Does the commission get up and say this person's dead and they vote on it? So we need to know if these vacancies are, if the determination is done by the commission, or how does that work?
If I may, Chair, if you look at subsection 7, it actually explains it, subject by the commission, but it's not from 1 through 6, and I think that's what the chair is trying to refer to.
Right, well, that specifically mentions it,
Right.
the other five do
That's
not.
right.
But the question is, does that catch-all in section 11, does that catch, because they added things in here as they were writing it, right? They didn't always specify everything in great detail, but they also, is that catch-all under 11 truly a catch-all, or not? Secretaries have been qualified for positions at the end of the qualified period of their election. Was that added later, or was that added in the same 7, right? So you're talking about?
Added, if you look on the bottom of that section, the last time that section was amended was in 2014.
So was section 7 added? Because that one seemed, the other one seemed very like original writings where the lawyers weren't running the show. And then number 7 here is the full-on,
I will have to get that document out and look at it.
Because that would be my guess just by reading it, and I'd love to hear the actual history behind that, is whether or not that additional information that was added because it was being done by a more modern attorney than the original framers of our Constitution.
What do you guys decide as far as legal residence? That's a requirement.
Well, the question comes to legal residence is very simple. Who makes that determination? If Section 11 powers are as they say they are, which are all powers are by the commission, then the commission would be the only group that can make a determination whether or not somebody is a convicted felon, right? All this information comes forth, right? You get a death certificate, you get a letter of felony. Who actually says that's true or not? And I mean, my interpretation, what I would read this would be the powers of the commission, and that's what I'm asking the attorneys. Does that actually, who makes that determination? Do you have to go to a judge? Is it the governor? Who is the authorizing person to make any of these determinations of the 7 things on here? If all 7 fall under the commission, then every single one of these items are up to the commission. Someone can always fight it. They can go to a judge and say, hey, I'm still alive, right? They voted me dead. But, that all of these items would be at the end of the day the determination of the commission. Right.
But your comment would be, you want to restrict that, or you want to, what is the change you want to promote?
Well, I don't really want to, I don't know if there needs to be a change. I want legal clarification. If this area here, we have no control over it as a town, then it should state that you have to go to a judge, you have to go to the governor, you have to, but right now, it's just open on vacancies on commission. When do they exist? So if we review section 11, and section 11 shows that all powers are specifically conferred upon the town commission, then vacancies on commission would be deemed, there's nothing for us to change. It's already in the catch-all. If there's not, then maybe we should change that. So I don't want to change something that's already correct. You know, if it needs to be changed, then I would make a motion to make the vacancies on commission subject to determination of the commission. That's the idea behind it.
And I think also it's important, Chair, is to add the process, like you have the process spelled out in section 7.
Right.
And you don't have it for the 1 through 6. For example, by death or resignation of a member, yes, okay, the commission decides, but when? Could it be 6 months?
Upon certification of, you know,
That's why
let's say
I
if they're
think-
lost at sea, you know.
I think there should be kind of a process spelled out for the clerk to call a meeting or the manager to call a meeting or just the process on when
The
it's
process
gonna happen.
on vacancies on commission. So that's something we should add regardless, right? Whether or not that Powers Act is even there should always be a process for that to exist.
Right, do you have a process on number 7, but it's only specifically
For
number
that
7
part, right.
section? But not from 1 through 6?
No, for what?
Right.
7 kind of is all in.
So can we have if you can bring back to us a process that could be applied to the entire section 15 and not just 7?
Through the chair, I just want to mention that we should look at 15 and 16 because 16 provides the procedure for filling vacancies. So, but again, it doesn't specify, you know, what, who, you know, when is a vacancy deemed to exist. The way that it's drafted, it says it shall be created and deemed to exist upon any of the following. And so what you're getting at is who determines, you know, whether any of these things occur, right?
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay, so to clarify,
Well, I think also the request was for a process as well. So in this one, it's you put it in the newspaper, you have a hearing, you go through the process. So if let's say there is a situation where the commission determines that, you know, resignation, right? The manager gets a resignation, has the commission accepted it? Has it been noticed? What is the process for any of these different things that go on? And I think the clerk has, right now, she's like, I don't know what to do. He or she, and we have to amend also things around here. He or she may not know what to do. So therefore, you know, let's clarify that whole subsection so that there's a process and it's very clear.
We probably still have other things.
Everyone's good with this? Yeah.
Was it,
All right.
is there a motion?
Oh,
I haven't got a motion for the powers of section 11 or for the process of the entire section.
Let's do that.
all right, so let's do that.
11.
So, I'm gonna ask
Section
again.
11, do we need it? What's the separate motion?
It was bring
Motion
back.
is that you're coming back
that you're
with
coming back with
suggestions.
some suggestions for those powers, for the staggered terms.
Well, that wasn't, powers of the commission was,
Sorry.
Yeah, that was in.
was whether or not, they said there were other state statutes and things that might affect the powers of the commission.
Correct.
Right, so it's scrubbing it, so that, I thought that fell into the first
that
motion.
falls in, that fell into the first
Yeah, we
motion.
don't.
The creating staggered terms?
Well, that was the
No.
other ones. My question was,
There hasn't been one.
On the first one?
On section
No.
11.
I'm making notes, but.
No, there wasn't, I thought there was, all right, then, if there hasn't been a motion. The first one that they
first
talked about
motion.
was, sorry, through the chair, I'm just trying to clarify this. The first thing that they talked about was anything that's in conflict with state law or with.
That one I got, that
That-
one was at the beginning.
What I'm saying is the
And that
commission's
covers
powers
one.
are
Are
under
there?
that, they
Okay.
fit under that, so I think we're okay there.
so I guess then the second one that was I was gonna make a motion regarding the clarification on all the powers of the town. So for instance, for that vacancy area, whether or not that needs to be cleaned up or it's already has those proper powers.
No, I think we need to clean, you're saying in terms of who judges, whether there's the criteria for vacancy or met. That's
Well,
what you're referring to.
the question is all powers of town not specifically conferred, right? If
Oh.
if all matters of policy are vested in the
You're back
commission,
to that, sorry.
do we need to modify this, or is this already truly an all a catch-all?
I would strongly recommend that you modify.
Modify it?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I'd like to
Yeah,
make a
that
motion.
you make it very clear.
To modify the powers of the commission to make it very clear as discussed.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Heard that, Evelyn?
I don't know who made the motion or who
I made a
seconded it.
motion.
I second Peter Zuckerman.
Thank you.
And everyone voted in favor. All right, now we flipped over to section 15 and 16, and make a motion to clarify the process and the determining factor as to who determines if a vacancy exists, as well as the process to carry that forth. Do you have it? That make sense?
Yeah, I'm confused now with the motion you just made. Isn't that what we were?
Yeah, I thought that's what you were addressing with the previous motion.
Oh, so you're.
Well, there's two separate
The
things.
previous was on 11, right?
11 is to make sure that in the future, we know that the town commission makes all of the matters regarding everything in the town. If it's not specifically in here, I want to make sure that it's actually clean and that the town has the authority to do so. The second one is, all right, this might, vacancies on commission, that might clear up that confusion. It might already be fine. But in addition to that, we should obviously specify that the town commission makes the determination. And what is the process once that determination is made? The newspaper article, very similar to 7, that it applies to the entire subsection. And I think you also, there was a mention about section 16 to clean that up as well as part of that process. Or do you not need anything in 16?
Yeah, because 16 has a procedure for filling the vacancies, so.
So link those two.
We'll link those two. Okay.
Do you have a second?
Yeah, second.
All right.
Peter. Second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. All right, on to 17, creation of new departments, office, change of duties. Anybody?
Nothing.
18, appointment, removal, and duties generally of town clerk. I think we had a town clerk.
Yeah,
Bring it up.
if you're ready for us, I actually, the town clerk speak on her behalf on this one, but I think it's something that perhaps existed in more content within the charter, and it has been removed, but there's still items left behind it, but, and I'll say, the town clerk is a charter officer. How do we address it? It's not, but there's wording in here that makes it seem as it is a charter officer, and perhaps there's something was removed that would further expand on that, but I'll let Sandra speak on her behalf because there's a bit of a conflict there.
It looks like it was removed at some point, the charter officer. If you look in some sections, there's only the higher power for the town manager, the higher power from the town attorney. There's no such thing for the clerk. So it seems that it was removed at some point years ago. But then there's other sections that pretend, look like I am a charter like the position is a charter officer.
Specifically
like in this section.
references the town clerk.
The reference in here, it also references if you look in the personal board section, it says that town charter officers are not allowed to go in front of the personal appeals board, they get fired, and it mentions the town clerk. But however, the town clerk reports currently to the manager.
So,
It's not a town charter
good point, so
officer.
that's a good immediate example of a conflict there. If Sandra reports to the town manager, if the town clerk reports to the town manager, and for whatever reason, God forbid, but she is let go, she cannot go and appeal that to the board.
Even though she's not a charter officer.
Even though she's not a.
Well, I mean, I'm sure
Well-
that could be a case in law, in front of a judge, but currently.
So do we want to clean that up? And you're going to see a lot of that where there's outdated position perhaps falling where they shouldn't, or perhaps reclassification because they've changed. For example, public works is,
It's called something else.
it's called outside services. But it expands, there's a lot of that, but
So
we'll get to that.
So let's start with the simple question regarding the town clerk. Should the town clerk be hired by the commission as a direct employee, just as the attorney and the town manager is, or should the town clerk serve under the?
No, right now it serves under the town manager, it says here.
But
Right.
there's a lot of
But that's the conflict.
information there that says that the town clerk reports to the commission on various items.
Right now, it's not clean, so it's doing both.
Okay, so.
That's the problem.
What is our suggestion?
So
To
what do
keep
we
it
want?
under the town manager, or we want to?
The way it's working now, we don't see an issue the way it's working. It should be under the town manager, in my opinion.
Right.
The older ways, it was, the town clerk was an individual that took notes, and perhaps that was it. But
What does
that's
the
not
town
what the town
clerk
clerk
do now?
does anymore. Town clerk the town clerk is the library
Runs
of the
the
town.
show.
It's the public records request of the town. She's a big component of it.
She's the
one-
record keeper.
That
She's
came from the
the
bottom of my heart.
she's the like chief executive, like her.
Right.
What would it be, like a secretary of state?
But it goes further. They keep track of all the contracts. They procure all. They're a big part of the procurement process
Right.
with the RFPs. They're the ones who do all the
Okay,
advertising.
but the question would be, every 2 years, do we want the commission to select a new person?
Well, what you're saying is every 2 years. If that's the case, every 2 years.
No, the
That's
clerk
not-
needs to be a lifelong position.
No. It wouldn't be that way. What I
Okay,
recommend,
sounds like
what I
it.
specifically recommend, it seems like everything was geared towards making it an administrative position.
Okay.
Keep it that way. Just make sure the language is consistent with that.
Okay.
Basically, the clerk right now performs a really important function that needs to be managed by the manager. If the manager then has to go to, like, oh, this clerk's not working out for me, he has to go to the commission, they have to hold a public meeting, you have to fire them in front of the whole public, it makes it a disaster. And that's what I'm, hearing from just putting
Thing
all
is,
these
town
together.
clerk, through the chair, is someone that has not exactly on the dais, but it's someone that interacts with the dais.
Mhm.
So, yeah, there is a connection, perhaps more than what another
With the community.
administrative position would do. But, again, my advice on this matter is, it seems, and let me ask Sandra a question, town clerk, other municipalities, is it through the?
It varies. It
So it does
varies.
vary.
Yeah, it varies.
So there's cases where the clerk is an elected official.
Yes, there's
That's a
two.
different situation.
The county's clerk is elected
North
and
Dakota.
North Miami clerk is elected.
Then it's probably a bit of a different job or same job.
It's more political. Do you
More
want the clerk
political,
to be a
right? I don't want it to be.
position?
I think the clerk should be appointed by the commission. That way to keep the town manager and the clerk kind of like separate,
That's your
like.
discussion always.
Yeah, the discuss, my, like, and again, I'm not city government, right? I know limited amount, but like, I think as a town, it's nice to know that, the city manager is elected by the commission and also the clerk. The clerk is a very important role that keeps, like, it would be great if somebody takes on for their life, right? Like, it's like a great lifetime role. But, I don't know how you guys feel about it, but like, I feel like
But what
the
happens,
commission.
now remember now, every time you have a meeting, in order to do anything with the clerk now, the clerk becomes a political role by nature.
Correct.
Because now you have to
Is
have
they're
a.
appointed?
No, they're appointed, no, at that point, just like they hire the manager, they have to all get on the dais, they have to bring the person in front of them, they have to interview them publicly, they have to fire them publicly. It's everything becomes it's no longer a personnel issue, it's now a town issue. And do you really wanna add that limelight to the clerk?
I don't.
Or do you wanna
That's
leave them
clerk.
under the protection of the manager,
What
where
would you
it's
like it to be?
deal with the manager?
The manager.
That's.
I mean, you've been doing this job for a long time.
The original comment was cleaning up, right? Not changing.
Right now, they're hired by the manager, so we would have to change the charter to now make them a charter
I'm not
position.
looking to change much.
All right, so let's do a motion, no, pass the gavel. Do a motion to clean up the town clerk for all the different locations throughout the charter that makes it as an employee of the manager and removes all references to chartered officer, gives them the same rights for appeals board and all the other positions that a employee does have.
Sorry, just for the record, it'll be also section 31.1 personal growth.
Can I get a second?
I second that.
Second.
Mhm.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Evelyn, you got it? Yeah, hopefully.
Who seconded it?
Laurie Swedrow.
Who?
Laurie Swedrow.
Okay.
Yeah, 19.
19, induction of commission into office meetings of commission. Anybody got anything of this?
This is where you outline your 8 PM meeting starts, and this is the way your meetings are structured right now. Every Tuesday, 8 PM, it's what it says right now. Our time is 7 PM.
No, here it says monthly, 8 p.m.
Yeah.
Monthly, 8 p.m.
Yeah, do that.
We start at 7, how does that
Six.
work?
We do a monthly meeting.
Well, if you keep reading, it says on the second Tuesday of each month.
Which is what we do.
And on such other days, or at such other time or times as may be prescribed by the commission.
All right, so why are we messing with
Perfect,
this?
let's just leave it.
You could just remove the 8 PM.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you gotta put this to them, everything would change, we're gonna put to them.
Well, they can put things together.
You're only doing recommendations.
Well, just to be clear, there's gonna be a change based on, at least you're gonna recommend a change based on your previous
Right.
motion to change on the day following their election. So you're already touching this section.
Oh,
Right, because this will impact
Yeah,
the
you
first
already have to
Tuesday.
change this.
Right.
all right, so we wanna what, get rid of 8 and say at a time prescribed by the commission? Is that the idea? Of the correction? Tony, is that something?
Alright, we can do that, that's fine.
I
If
mean, does
that's
that
the
make
will.
better legal sense? I mean, what?
It's just more flexibility.
More
Yes.
flexibility.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's fine.
Okay, make a motion as, do we have a second?
I second, is this, you can do like, I mean, there are some limitations, like they can't do a commission meeting at 4 in the morning when nobody else can, like, that's not happening.
They can do that right now anyway.
They can do that now anyway. All right,
This is
fine.
just cleaning up the 8
Yeah,
o'clock
fine,
because
great. Clean
they're
it.
doing it what time they
I
want
second
anyway,
it,
right
yeah.
now 7. So, all in favor?
Yep. Aye.
All right. Motion carries. Rules of Procedure Journal.
Next.
This one's all repealed. All right, next. Ordinances, journaling, and acting clauses. Anybody? Same procedure for passage of ordinances.
No, it's fine.
Publications of ordinances after final passage for Mrs. Referendum. Penalty for violation of ordinances.
Get it out.
Municipal court is gone. Powers of municipal judge is gone. Town attorney appointment and duties. This is all still here, right?
Yep.
There's a section.
Yeah, the first sentence is still good, it's still there, at least the first sentence.
Are we all good with the attorney stuff? Was there anything has to be updated, right?
I read it, it made sense to me.
All right. Eligibility of employees. No members of the immediate family of a commission shall be eligible to hold a salary. There.
We're this is specific to nepotism or?
This is the 3rd degree.
Yes, so.
This is 3rd degree?
Yes, so currently the way the nepotism rules are, is this where we're at?
And in 29.
29, section 29.
Eligibility of employee, no member of the immediate
No,
family
I'm
should
sure
hold a
you-
salary
Before
position.
that.
I apologize.
Hold on, hold on. It actually is.
Does it
it's
reference it there?
Kind of, yeah.
Where?
Read it, section 29.
Oh, yeah, related by consanguinity
Uh-huh.
to the 3rd degree.
Read. So that means,
It ties it with the nepotism one, and that's where I, which, there's
So
two areas where it's
let's
somewhat referenced.
work on it here.
3rd degree, what does that mean? It means, you know, any town employee, technically their grandkids wouldn't be able, 3rd degree will take it out. If 1st degree is
But is it-
immediate relationship, 2nd degree is my kids, 3rd degree would be my grandkids. We've been in situations where, you know, employees married, and at that point, you know.
It says commissioner though. Of the commission.
any town official
No.
or employee.
Yeah, we're looking at the 3rd.
3rd paragraph.
Alright, gotcha.
Yeah.
What's the town a situation where,
Yeah, why not?
maybe 3rd
It's good
degree
for the town.
is a bit too much. Why?
If a 3rd generation, a grandson wants to work for the town, I mean,
We've had situations
you
where
know,
we've
as an
actually.
employee,
Do you like that or don't like that?
I do like that.
So we need to fix it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's fix it. Take care of
I
that.
think the levels of degree may be a bit excessive, it's not custom.
Well, I think
and
you
why
don't-
would we, you know,
you
you
don't
got
wanna
2nd
have-
generation working here.
As long as
I
they
think-
report to you.
You don't want to
That's
have
the
your
way you
direct
roll.
report to be
Yeah.
a family member.
I'm sure, that's what I agree with, if you don't, yeah.
Can we get some good HR
Yeah,
motion
language in
language?
there.
Yes.
All right, so I'd like to make a motion on, regarding nepotism and eligibility of employees to a more modernized
Language.
HR language that, you know, make sure that you're not, your family is not working for you, but that the family has the ability to work in town.
Right. I think it's good.
Right?
Second?
A second?
Second that.
All right.
Peter Zuckerman, second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion
Any
approved.
opposed?
Aye.
I didn't hear all the ayes.
The ayes have it. Delegation of powers. Doesn't this kind of clear up 11, Tony?
What's that? Which one?
Delegation of powers. The commission shall have and exercise all powers of the town not specifically conferred upon other officers and employees. That's pretty clear.
That is pretty clear.
That's, I think that.
So that might tie back to 11.
That might tie back to 11, so we may not need to fix 11.
Oh, that's right. That's the problem with this. I knew.
No,
we
it's
we
the-
looked at this.
Oh, it's been replaced. It's
Yeah,
gone.
it-
Whew.
yeah, it was before. So we'll go back to the other one. We'll just make it very clear.
All right, advisory boards. We're good with that? Personal appeals boards, and we touched on that already.
Yep.
General laws to apply, independent audits, and we have finished one section, article. Anything, anyone else?
These last section, any feedback, any comment on the last points from
Any-
your experience?
Anything else on 5A?
I don't know where mine is.
No, where this for you and
I think we went through every section, so I think at this point, 5A is closed, and we're now on 5B. Wonderful. All right. Town manager qualifications. That has been removed. Wonderful. Powers and duties. Anything on there?
I read it.
Right, town manager to sit on commission, sure. Appointments by manager. Oh, here it says the town manager shall appoint a town clerk, so it's already.
It needs to be clear.
Yeah, okay, that's good. Duties of other town manager appointees. Did you want to fix something with the superintendents of the water?
So for example, we have a lot of positions, yeah, like for example, what section are you on there? 'Cause I'm trying to remember.
39.
Okay, so it ties with 37 as well, appointments town manager. There's a lot of positions called out that are not actual positions of the town. It's an inconsistency similar to how there's some legal items that perhaps have been superseded. We don't have a superintendent of outside services. We have a public works director.
And we don't have a superintendent of water department.
We do, but then, the authority and the powers of them is not as it's stated here. They're now under the public works director.
Public Works
So the supervisor itself now has a more limited operational capacity, which this gives them a much more, administrative capacity to the water department. So we can go back and forth with these, and we can outline which ones we feel, you can clean up to bring them up to today's age, to how the town actually operates. Or you leave it as it is, and it doesn't impact the way
So
we
how-
run, but we're not running to how.
How
our
is it
charter
today?
is. Today, so for example, the town manager shall appoint a town clerk and a chief of police, which are defined.
Yeah.
A superintendent of outside services is actually a public works director, and the head of such other departments is commission made from time to time established by.
No, but what are the roles that are existing today?
Well, I can tell you all the department heads.
But, okay,
But this specifically, or just established that the town manager appoints all the department heads, but it specifically states in chief of police and the town clerk, and it specifically states in outside services. These are three things that are specifically written within the charter.
And the water department.
And there, it goes into the 39, and it mentions the superintendent of the water department.
So why don't we just strike the areas we're not using, leave it to the town clerk, chief of police, and the rest that you set up.
So what happened, and historically, this town had a water tower. You're actually in it.
That's cool.
This used to be a water tower, this facility, so we we sold water, and perhaps other jurisdictions were tied to our, and there was franchise agreements involved with that. And that's the way I'm interpreting this language. Now there's a bigger entity, which is Miami-Dade County Water and Sewer, and we are a wholesale purchaser. So then it becomes more of an administrative function. Mind you, there's still operational because we run our own infrastructure, our distribution pipes, but it all falls under the Public Works Director. So you streamline it and create that consistency to bring it to what we do today. You allow us to bring forth that, but it involves changing the code, the charter. And it's at the end of the day, the way we're running right now is not consistent with the way the charter's read. And I think that's the key item there.
And those type of things are not things that are like rights or responsibilities, things that the town manager needs to run, so, I don't see the need to remove chief
I
of
think the
police.
clarification
the
is.
question is, do we want to be more prescriptive, or we just want to say, town manager selects everyone?
If
That's it?
you wanna address this today, there's two ways to do
Right.
it. Any department, or you right now address that immediate, which is outside services, and call it public works. And with the water supply, they call it public works. Superintendent of outside services, public works. Or just, again, make it more, just the town
Just
manager.
the department
Who's in
head.
charge?
So then that's it. So then,
I,
I think that would be the, yeah.
yeah, So I guess I'd like to make a motion to strike superintendent of outside services as well as superintendent of water department in the 2 paragraphs that follow that. And we'll just leave it where it is today. You got something?
I second.
Do you want to
Very
add,
clean that up.
do you want to add the town manager shall appoint all department heads on section 37? Or do
Yes.
you want to?
Oh, yeah, make it
Yes,
simple.
yes.
There you go. Town manager
Absolutely.
shall
I do
appoint
anyways.
all departments.
Why not make it reality?
Board members, does that include the flexibility to come back to you with, after consulting with,
We don't want to list
town
them.
manager? No, I got it. So, but if we're striking it, there's a bunch of duties in 39 that are gonna get, the moment we get rid of superintendent of the water department,
Right.
what do we
Everything goes
put
out.
there?
It all goes
Just
back-
delete the whole
delete it
thing?
all.
Got it. All right, fair enough. I understand that.
We have a second to the motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Lori did the second. All right. Okay, last one is nepotism, which we've already spoken about in the cleanup process.
What is this again here? What's the reason nepotism? Why this comes?
It's the 33,
Yeah, but why it's again? Can we take this
So-
out?
Oh,
It's again the same concept.
We're gonna change it.
so Tony, do you?
We already made a
Do
motion.
you remove this, do you remove that section and just clean up the first one, or?
actually, it has an editor's note.
Oh, provision 40 appears to have been repealed by the Municipal Home
So
Powers
this is,
Act.
yeah, this is like a remnant piece.
This is
That's,
gone.
that's why, it's the other section that applies.
So the other section we're gonna fix, and this one is already gone.
And you'll eliminate that once we get everything passed by the
That's right.
commission and citizens.
General power of town, power is not deemed exclusive. Do I have?
What?
Oh, is this the one they add, is this the one that was added?
What was the question?
This,
Where are
section 4, general powers of town powers?
Oh, section 4, was the.
Is that next time?
How was that, is that
That
just
was
in my book?
discussed last time, and that's
This
the
is-
one.
Oh,
that
this
you
is,
guys wanted more
this is
information.
going back to the, okay,
Right.
fine, next,
Yeah.
new
Alright,
topic.
let's get into that.
All right, let's get into that.
Are we done with the section?
So, anything else on 5B?
Nope.
No,
5B
we're ready for
is
next time?
closed. Let's move on to, what?
Have the whole charter for you.
Let's move on to 6A, unfinished business. So, last time, we devolved into a very, very long conversation of something that had absolutely no place being in this chamber, right? There is a P&Z, there is a commission. We were all looking at numbers and facts and trying to pretend we were P&Z. We missed the bigger point here. The point was is that they never should have been here because charter things, towns amend their codes, they change things all the time. And the reason we got placed into this position is because the previous commission did a nice little amendment that said, do you not want to raise heights 120 feet? And by the way, we're also going to do all these other things that make the town very difficult to operate and run. And rather than try to go back here and try to change densities and heights, which makes everything so complicated, I think that the solution is really what everyone in town wants is nobody wants sun aisles. No matter how many times they write it on next door, nobody here wants on the aisles. We want the 120 feet works great. The 12 stories work great. That means we can't have these micro buildings going up. You know, we can't have these super tall buildings going up. It really protects our beachfront area. So the thing is, if we strike this now and we change it to something very simple, which is, you know, the height of the buildings on Collins may not exceed 120 feet and 12 stories, then our entire work here is done. Whether the heights go up and down with the water tables and the FPEs and all that stuff, that goes back to the people who actually deal with this, not us, who are uninformed and would have to, you know, and I mean, Lori said, at least you're an architect, so you
Right here.
can be informed, but none of us should be making this role because it's not our responsibility or expertise. So, I mean, I think if everyone's in favor of doing that, this whole thing goes away. It's not our problem anymore. We're done.
But what is the suggestion?
So the suggestion is to change this provision to, you know, obviously we need a legal terminology, to only put in place the 120 feet and 12 stories, and everything else goes normal P&Z code, as every other town.
Cannot exceed.
Cannot, yeah. So that the only, we're basically, if right now, everything is locked into 2004. So someone comes around and somehow supersedes 2004 with a state program or process, or says that because we're not reviewing it, it literally locks the entire code of 16, 18 years ago into the charter for life, which it doesn't allow a town to operate. It doesn't allow for sea level rising, or allow for anything. And we shouldn't be having these conversations. They're conversations that go to P&Z, that go to the commission, that get voted on. The one thing we have to protect against all costs is raising that 12-story height limit, because if that changes, the whole neighborhood changes, and then we're in a different
Yeah.
world. So, I would, the suggestion I'm saying is to basically to change this paragraph to just protect the 120-story, 12 feet, and strike all the things about the Town Code of 2004, comprehensive plans. It doesn't belong in a charter. None of that, because nobody does that in any town. And the residents were sold on that, because they were sold, if you don't lock this into the charter, they're gonna raise it past 120 feet. Well, there's always bad people out there, but if we lock it in and we protect that spot, the rest of the town can operate in a normal way, a normal function, and not be hands-tied.
Right.
Right, so on that note, I'd like to make a recommendation to put in this language, best I can do. Okay, so the density, intensity, and height of development and structures within the town of Surfside shall not exceed the maximum allowable units per acre, floor area ratios, or the maximum allowable building heights in stories and feet that are set out in the town of Surfside's comp plan or the code of the town of Surfside, whichever provisions are most restrictive. Lot area of lots shall only include the area or acreage within the lot lines of a lot, except that for properties east of Collins Avenue, lot area shall be limited to the area bounded by the north, south, and west lot lines and the bulkhead line on the east, not the erosion control line. Height for properties east of Collins Avenue shall be measured from the elevation determined by the Florida Department of Environmental Protection's most recent report, such that the maximum height of 120 feet to the structured roof shall not exceed Florida Department Protection's designated wave crest elevation or habitable living elevation. Once the report is in hand, I don't have it all worked out, we can track the language. So I need a little help, or we need some help with the language. But if it's stated in the previous written document from the Florida Department of Environmental Protection, most stringent report, that's the language we should use. Simplify, not setting date 2004, 2018, or the next date's gonna be 7 years, or the next 7 years, 2023, 2025, I don't remember.
What is it?
But the comp plan, how
Oh.
it always changes, the dates always changes, so let's not clean up the charter and not simply state the limits. That's what I'm saying.
So I'm a little confused by
Oh.
that. If you could,
I mean,
Okay,
regardless
so
of the
this is
language,
what's
we're not
existing.
lawyers, so
Yeah, so
I
this
don't
is
wanna,
what's
I don't
existing,
wanna lawyer it.
and this is
I wanna
what
just
we're
say
recommending. All right.
max 120, and then you guys come back with language.
Right. So it's essentially what is there, that is voted in, it's
what is
just
the
cleaned up.
TOS comp plan?
Town of Surfside,
Oh,
comp
comp
plan
plan.
and the code
So it's
of the
ba-
town of Surfside.
So it's based on whatever the current comp plan is. So if the comp plan gets updated, it automatically updates in here?
This is the charter, so the charter's saying 120 feet based on the most recent report from Environmental Protection Agency. So that's guiding us based on height, or where that height starts.
So where the height starts, so if they start to raise, the sea levels and the walls go up, then
It's
still
120
120 feet,
from there.
but you're no longer pegging it to a non-movable thing, which is the problem they did in the houses, where the houses are shrinking, the inhabitable space.
Correct.
Okay.
So it's just, this is just cleaning it up.
But you're also saying to get rid of this whole lock-in comprehensive plan 2004 restrictive?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
This is what's
All good.
coming out, and this is what's staying. Yeah, I mean, maybe the town attorney can help with that language. So I just got this requesting the Environmental Protection Agency's most recent report. I wanted to see what they said in their most recent report. So Dayton County.
But do we have to put in all this comp stuff with the?
You can make it cleaner if you want. I just, Town of Surfside is TOS.
Right. No, I just want to make sure that when the voters vote on, they know what they're protecting that 120 feet.
Yes.
And the rest of this is all, because this I've like read twice now, and I'm still having a hard time.
This one is very difficult.
It's a very difficult read, and
Yeah.
those are all things that are set out already in the comp plan, right? Those are, we're referring back to the comp plan, which is already code.
Mhm.
So the question is, if we simplify it to just the height properties of Collins shall be measured from the elevation and shall not exceed 120. If you replace this whole paragraph with this little thing, I think it makes it super easy.
Well, we need some direction.
Yeah, I think we need direction on that. I think what we're saying is the same thing. We just need somebody to help us articulate it so it's very clear in the town charter. I mean, we're saying the same thing. It's like,
Well, luckily we have Tony, who's actually
Yeah.
our subject matter expert on this in the town. So,
Right.
so
welcome.
Tony,
Yes.
Yes.
can you rewrite this?
Yeah, I just need to know where you wanna go. You
120.
wanna simplify it, you wanna go to 120
East of
as
Collins,
a max.
120 max.
Measuring from the environmental protection
Wave crest line,
Most
right?
recent report.
wave crest line. Is that what it was? Yeah.
Well, it could either be
Whatever the fairest
right
measurement is.
from the wave or the first habitable or living elevation, whatever their wording is in the building department protections. I couldn't find that language. All I could find was their,
So I guess it's not the crust of,
100-year storm.
the not crust of the road thing. It's the, like we did discussed about the homes, whatever.
The FEMA,
Well,
well, there's
Well,
not.
then we're changing it.
Yeah,
What are we going off of?
right, that's the question on each one.
What are we
What do
going
we
off-
want to propose?
FEMA and an HGFBD is on one, then you have an ABD. So we don't wanna get
We don't
into
wanna
that
mix
at
that
all.
up.
That's what we wanna get clean up.
okay, so you wanna measure
So-
120 feet from whatever the wave crest is, or whatever the first habitable floor is. Now, that only applies to
East of Collins.
east of Collins,
Right.
right?
The rest is just the comp plan of the town. It's out of the
Yeah.
Just the
charter.
comp and all right. If you're doing that, then you don't, may I suggest, in the interest of simplifying, you would get rid of the whole reference to the comp plan and the code of the town, because it's always gonna be whichever provisions are most restrictive.
Right, it's automatically there, so we don't,
Right.
none of that should be
You
in
don't
the
need
charter.
that in here.
Because we don't need it.
It's already there. Now,
Right, the comp plan can be changed by the commission.
exactly, to be fair, any of these could be changed by the commission. So
And not the 120.
Not
Not
the
except the
120.
120 under
Right.
this scenario.
That's what we're all trying to protect against, is the 120.
But wait a second, this
We have to have some
works in
light.
2 ways. Now, if this goes on, the commission could push limits up, down.
I mean, they've always been able to change the zoning.
No. This is locking exactly what we have today.
Correct, but
So
prior
if
to
we
this-
put this out, it could go both ways, right? It could be, we could have a commission that says, from now on, we want to build Sunny Heights. And then a new commission comes and they put the code. No, that's why. Today you cannot do that. But the question is, if you don't unlock a little bit more, what you want, it's up to the commission.
Well, until they passed this ordinance, how did the town operate? Like, this ordinance is brand new, and this was designed to protect 120 feet against, for sure. So prior to this regulation, if they could, changing zoning and stuff, that was all commission basis, there was no charter protections, and there were charter requirements.
So prior to this being adopted in the charter in the 2006, 2007, the zoning rule was 120 feet, 12 stories.
Right,
So
they
just-
put it in the
just
charter
applied
to-
it
They
that
put it
way.
in charter, right?
To
Exactly
cement
what you
it.
want. What do we want? 12 stories, 120 feet? Let's put it here. But we need to put also limits to the other parts of the city, right?
Right.
Not only
You should do-
east of Collins.
So
you,
what
you don't want the
happened?
commission to come in and be like, okay, we're gonna put a 70-story building where the surf whatever side thing, the
Or
new
the other way
project.
around, right? It could go, it doesn't matter, right? It could go both ways,
West
right?
of Collins,
That's the point.
they could come and change the zoning
So could that, prior to this amendment happening a year ago, could someone, could the
If we
commission,
remove it.
could the commission have put in a 20-story building
No.
in the home area?
No,
What
no,
was stopping
because,
that?
Why?
no, because prior to a year ago, there was still the provision that tied it to the provisions in effect in 2004, which limited, which capped it at 12 stories.
Oh, so it's been locked in 2004 for a long time then?
Yeah, since like 2000.
Yeah, it wasn't
I don't have
changed.
the reference here, it's like 2008, 2007, something like that. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Where was it?
That's why it's so complicated, right? Because you can.
2012.
What was added last year was the lot area sentence of the
I think there
120
should-
feet.
I think there should be 3, like, broad restrictions on, you know, for the houses, the lot area coverage, right? You know, potentially setbacks, if they're standardized. I know there's a lot of moving parts. so
Now we're
maybe-
becoming a P and Z board again.
Yeah.
That literally, we're not doing.
But just the broad stroke stuff.
That's B and Z.
That's P and Z, that
That's
just put
why
us
we have
right
the
back in.
Code and we have
I
the
think
code.
sorry,
Zoning
Chair,
code.
I think your intent, you're trying to simplify that language.
Yes.
Correct.
I know that was added there because it was a mechanism to reassure that that is the culture of this town, but if there's a way to simplify it, you know, we'll look into it, but I don't think that's the next exercise you wanna do on this table, because you're gonna realize.
No,
Yeah, we don't wanna start going
7:30,
zone by zone. I think everybody here, townwide, we can put in 12 stories, 120 feet, there's no issue on that. The question is, when you start going to all the other spaces, then you become a P and Z board, locking things into the charter. So, like, what do the other towns do? Do they lock in every single spot? No.
There are some jurisdictions which, if you exceed certain requirements, you need a charter amendment. Right? There are some, like Miami Beach has that with heretofore. If you're increasing the intensity of something, you need to go beyond what it's zoned for. You have to go to a charter amendment. But there are other cities that don't have anything like that, and it's just up to the commission to determine, okay, these are the rules. And as the town, as the town or city changes, the rules will change. Right.
I think we have to put more time into this and maybe get some recommendations. Because it's 7:30 or 7:40.
Really? That's why we're stopping? Because
No.
we're gonna keep,
I
we
think
can't
we're
keep going.
about to make a
We
motion.
gotta
Yeah.
get through this. We can't take another break on this. Like,
Gonna
we
make
can
a
take a
motion.
minute, think, come up with a plan, but we can't keep going around and around on the same issue. Like, obviously that locking things in 2004 doesn't work. Because then we get into the whole question, well, the water
It
levels
needs
are
to
rising.
be it needs to be rewritten. I think the way you wrote it is great if we can
No, but
simplify it.
if we rewrite this, we need to put clear limits. That's my point. We should rewrite this, but with clear limits. Because if not, we're gonna play again to one side to the other. And then,
So what do you wanna put in, like, the 50, everywhere else is 50 feet locked in? Like, what's you wanna keep it very simple, right? So it's-
Correct.
So 120 feet, we all know on the water, that's easy. Now we have the rest of the town. All right, we're gonna release the comprehensive thing. And we could make it 50, can't exceed 50 feet, right? And then the commission can move up and down 3 feet, 5 feet, whatever it is, fix that, understories, do the measure from the crust to the road, but, building can't exceed 50 feet, and then you kind of have a protection against any sort of.
What's the current,
That's the zoning code, that could be addressed on its own. We need to just stay focused on what this Article 4 is.
Right, but Ezekiel's concern is that, okay, so we protect that area, and now they buy 6 houses on the water, and they turn it into a 12-story building.
There's the zoning, you have zoning in place to protect that.
In theory, a commission could just vote to change it, it's not locked in. That's what his
right,
concern is.
that's my point.
And-
Again, it could go both ways, right? We could get a commission that says, from now on, we build New York here.
Or they can say-
Everywhere. Or the other way around.
Or they can
We
say
don't
one
want
story.
2 stories. We don't want a house with 2 stories. So, what do we do?
Leave it to the planning and zoning.
Well, we could lock in a very wide range, though. Like we basically could say that, the current, height rights that people have cannot be infringed. And on the other token, we're gonna put a 50-foot limit across the space that the commission may not exceed. And that way you're protected on both sides. regardless. So yes, we don't expect them to do 50 feet. We'll probably be something like 30 or 32. But if we start having sea level rise and the roads start going up 5 or 6 feet, we don't want to come back to the
So
chart.
that was your suggestion last time, do it from the crest of the wave or whatever Tony was talking about, like.
I have a thought.
Please.
To try to simplify it,
Please.
okay? Something like this. The height of development and structures within the town of Surfside shall not exceed 40 feet for any property west of Collins Avenue. And 120 feet as measured, all that language, 120 feet as measured from the Florida DEP's most recent determination of the first floor or wave crest, blah, 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 right? So the idea would be everything west of Collins Avenue is a maximum of 40 feet, and we might have to specify how we measure it, as measured from.
Right.
We'll do
whatever.
the environmental so it can move and do as it needs to with the water tables.
Right, I mean, now, that still gives a lot of room for stuff west, that's currently 30 feet. So I just,
Right, we don't want
do
them
you
to
want a
do that.
second cap? I know you said 3 zones, but I think the 3 zones is the way, this town is pretty simple in terms of like its zoning scheme, so you can do it in 3 zones. So you can say,
I could
this
put
line, it's,
Zone number 1, zone number 2,
Two.
zone number 3.
So well, it's east of Harding, it's west of Harding, and then it's west of
generally, there's a
right.
couple of properties that kind of
Right.
cut in a little bit, which get tricky.
Mhm.
But so I would
Have you
just
got
do,
it?
yeah, we have it here,
There's the-
actually, right over here. I would do something like,
Right where the water
just to
is.
keep it, like to cap everything, you do, what is this, Abbott?
Yeah,
Yes.
Abbott could be that,
Target.
Abbott could be the 30 feet zone. Between Abbott and Collins, it's the 40-foot zone. Doesn't mean that these not automatically go up, it's just mean they can never change, right? And then everything here would be the 120-foot zone. I'm just trying to throw an idea to simplify it.
Does
the
the
business
business
zone
zone come in?
The business zone would be within
The 40-foot zone.
the 40-foot zone, right, between Abbott and Harding.
so I guess in theory, right, the business district can continue to come south at some point, if it needs to be. So you don't want to group those houses in the 30, you want to grab them in the 40, right? That's the idea?
I'm just throwing it out there in terms of an easy split.
Can we,
you know?
can we defer to the planning and zoning?
Yeah, you could ask for their
workshop
input.
department?
You could certainly ask for their input.
Yes.
Oh, that's a good idea. Can we we want to simplify down to 3 zones, right? That seems to be the town.
Okay.
So can we get back from them a not to exceed height for 3 zones in town? And that way, when we amend the charter, it allows things to work and
Very
operate,
clear.
and it's very clear.
Simplify.
Simplified.
I have a question for the clerk. Our P and Z agenda on Thursday, it's out, I know. Do we have a general discussion item on it?
There are 2 discussion items.
But specific, right?
Specific, they have to be specific. You can walk on.
We may have to walk on because at the request of this board.
Your request.
All right.
So we have 120, we have 40, we have 30.
Just give you the microphone.
It's already divided?
Speak up soon, I'm still working. Cannot have
Sidebar, Your Honor.
I think what town is already, the chair, it's split already in such a way that, I'm just trying to understand is, so you have your 120, you have your 40s, then you have your 30s. That tiers established, I guess you're trying to anchor those tiers in the charter? So that they don't change?
We're trying to anchor the height restrictions, which is what changes population to Sunny Isles, while still allowing the commission to deal with curb cuts and height and density and second story and all this stuff which has no place here, right? So the place here is to protect the town for the future, to make sure that we don't go, we don't exceed our heights, we don't ruin our town, but at the same time we give the P&Z and the commission the flexibility to do what they need to do. So if you were to draw a line, you were to take like, let's say, the 120, it's easy, we all know. The 40 feet is that center area between Harding and Collins, and possibly up until the Abbott side, because you've got those, you like, you know.
40 is the west side of Collins. That's it.
It's Harding, it's Harding and Collins. It's where we're sitting.
Right now, but part of our block is 30 and part of it is 40. So I don't want to lock into the charter that if, let's say, they want to take an area and make it 40 all the way around because it makes more sense, I don't want to give that access, but I want to have the commission's ability to do that down the road if they so choose to. We shouldn't lock that in. But, you know.
So my advice, yeah, it's, when you start trying to anchor things in a charter like that, you end up tying it to these documents that you end up creating what we have here for the 120. So just when you thread to that path, just understand and trying to simplify things, you may create further complication, adding more code added to the charter in order to protect, which is your intent. So just understand that as you walk through that process.
So, all right.
So maybe not lump it all together, just do each.
Well, you gotta do a lump because you gotta replace this, which is a comprehensive lockout and issue, to a protected thing. So we got the 3 zones. I mean, I don't think this is so complicated. If we look at the map right here, we've got 120, we've got 40, everything else is 30, right? The line gets drawn in between the Abbott thing, right up and down. So, you know, right now it's zone residential. If they switch it to commercial, it can go higher, it can go lower. We're not trying to lock into the commission. We're trying to protect the town from future, you know, overdevelopment or whatever issues. So I think we can. I don't think we need to go to P&Z for this. I think we can just do this right now. I mean, should we just walk? Can we walk to the map? Is that okay? Yeah. Let's take a walk to the map.
Yeah, I don't know. I think this is something we need to get P&Z. Well, I was hoping P&Z was coming to this, and we mentioned that the town planner was going to come today, and they didn't come. So I'm kind of uncomfortable with making this formal.
So very simple. This thing down here, everything this way is 120. Everything from here to this line right here is 40. We're not changing the code. We're just locking it into the charter for the future.
Right.
We're not. So they may continue to keep this 30. They make it 35. This line right here, which gets all the homes and stuff and the businesses, goes to 40, and everything else goes to 30.
I would go to 35 because of
Measured by the FBE whatever, so it's automatically built in. You don't have to worry about it.
Right.
It can go up. We don't force anybody to do anything. It's all by the government. It's all by the
right. But if you don't have it at 35, then if you want to do the understory concept, it's not. The P&Z board wouldn't have the ability to do that.
But they can because
They
they're measuring now.
They can do it now.
They're measuring now from FBE. The problem with right now is they're measuring from the level of
The street, the
of
crown of the
the
street.
crown of the street. Once they measure from the floodplain, you're 30 feet. You got plenty of room.
Is that right?
Now, you can do it now, but it's not enough.
No. Trying.
You're not creating a public record.
I recommend you come back and
Yeah.
share with the chair,
You can ask
have the
for P&Z
conversation.
to set it down.
So,
7:30.
all right. So
What's your recommendation?
my recommendation is we make those 3 zones. We do it to the whatever flood level that will move over time, so we don't have to worry about ever touching it again. And then inside those zones, the commission, there's still zoning inside those zones. So some levels, nothing we're going to touch is right now going to change anyone's rights. You know, in the future, if the town wants to move, switch, change, that's great. They can, but they can't go to the roof.
I would like to have a professional. I mean, I know you're professional at it. Like we said last time, I would like to see on a chart what happens if we change it from the crown of the street to the thing.
I got it.
Yeah, I'll show you. You guys have it in your agenda.
Oh, right here.
Yeah, if you look at
That
that
has to do with the single family.
page, I can walk you through.
Look, he gave me the point.
All right. So if we switch to this chart over here,
So explain
this
this to me.
is the average crown of the road, right?
Got it.
Then up here we have the base flood
Got it.
elevation. Then we have design flood. So base flood is what FEMA says you cannot build below this line.
Right.
The town of Surfside says, we're gonna make it 2
Take
feet
2.
more.
Right.
So right now, you have 10 minus 34.5, you have 24.5 of habitable space to go down.
Right.
Which originally, when this was done, the average home in Surfside was between 2.5 and 3 feet
Right.
above the crest of the road. So people have lost somewhere between 3 and 4 feet of habitable space in their property
So now
since
where
it was
would
done.
you have where would the 30 feet
Now,
trying to start?
I don't think we should actually go to the full 30 feet because, you know, and again, we're not gonna be voting on, if we do that plan we just
Right.
discussed, we're not voting on it.
Okay,
So, but in this theory, right,
obviously P and Z and all these other people.
P and Z should then, instead of measuring from average crest of the road, they should probably do 27 feet from the design flood elevation, which will give everybody the same rights they had when these
Plus.
codes all went into effect.
Exactly.
Now,
All right,
when
I'm
you,
in.
okay, so when this doesn't get counted because this is under house.
Right.
All right?
Right, that gives incentive to do understories. I think my objective of all this is to future-proof the growth of our city.
So this protects us against overgrowth. It protects us, allowing.
Show me
people-
how this would impact a condo at 120 feet. What are they getting? But they're restricted to 12 floors still.
They're still restricted to 12 floors, 120 feet, but the measurement is the wave crest.
From the,
Yeah, from the wave.
From the wave crest.
So they'd be getting 10 more feet in essence as well.
No, they wouldn't
No.
be impacted by that. They
No.
already, they wouldn't get anything more than what they have right now.
Okay.
The only thing is, if they ever change that wave crest in the future,
They
that
would.
120 feet would be
Fine.
measured from that new
I'm okay
wave
with that.
crest.
Which is
right.
right.
That's a
And
few
they
feet
need,
of
The
every 10
Department of
years.
Environmental Protection,
Right.
outside of the town's control.
Look, I think it's good business. I think we're gonna have insurance issues coming our way. I'm dealing
All
with
right,
it.
so let's go back to the motion. I'd like to make a motion to replace the current restrictions that are in there right now to change to 3 independent zones. The one zone is Collins and East, that's 120 feet. And then from Collins to that halfway point on Abbott will be 40 feet. And then from that half point on Abbott to the rest of the town will be 30 feet to be measured by the zone 2 and 3 to be measured by the, what is it, the design height?
Wave crest.
No.
West of Collins.
Okay.
What, yeah, this will be by the design flood elevation
Design flood elevation?
and the other one to be by the wave crest. Zone 1, which
Wave
is
crest.
the wave crest.
Got it.
Do I hear a second?
I second. Thank you for the chart. I didn't see it because you gave me this book last time.
All right, all in favor?
I read the book.
Aye.
for discussion again, or no?
You want to talk about it more?
Talk about it a little bit more. I just want to ask the attorney, can this become complicated to be striped if we group all 3 zones? Or
Think if,
because the charter's only dealing with one zone?
I have a proposal.
Okay.
This is proposed language. The height of development and structures within the town of Surfside shall not exceed 30 feet for any property west of Abbott Avenue, 40 feet between Abbott Avenue and Collins Avenue, and 120 feet for properties east of Collins Avenue. For purposes of this section, height shall be measured from the design flood elevation for all properties west of Collins Avenue, and shall be measured from, for properties east of Collins Avenue from the elevation determined by FDEP. Its most recent determination for the first floor or wave crest line as reported in such and such publication, or its equivalent. Next, lot area of lots shall only include the area or acreage. That sentence wouldn't change. And then the last sentence, which currently says, this amendment to the town of Surfside shall not be repealed, revised, amended, or superseded, unless that wouldn't change. So that's what you're looking at. It goes down to 4 sentences.
And it's very simple at that point, because and by the way, there are areas in this, when we pass this restriction, there are still areas that are further restricted by the code. So this is kind of giving people a little bit of breathing room for the future, but there's a lot of places where they will not be able to go to the limits we've set. They have the commission, the P&Z has the flexibility, but we're not looking to give anybody.
You're restricting it. You're restricting it forever, and this point on, we don't need to touch this again.
We don't need to ever touch this again. I mean, we're done.
Are you still keeping in that last sentence where it has to?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, we have the right to review everything
I
that
haven't
they
heard
were
anything to
going
get rid of it.
to eventually propose,
To
right?
get rid-
We're going to
get
have
rid of
review
it.
sessions.
Yeah, they're gonna give us all at some point in this process, you're gonna give us all the proposed amendments.
Yes,
We're gonna-
yes, but Ms. Wedger was asking if the last sentence, which is the 60% vote, I haven't heard any discussion on that. So
Let's leave it.
it's up to you, you know, I don't,
We're giving.
Strike it out.
You
It's
strike it out?
so complicated.
I mean, at this point, we're giving the town the flexibility. It doesn't change the whole thing. Why do we want to repeal that section of it, the 60%?
I was just trying to clean it up, and that was cleaning it up.
Give it.
Didn't make a difference.
I mean, if 60% of the town is, if some developer comes in and gives everybody in this town $100 million each to all move, they will all sign off and give the 60%, and they can build this into a 500-story Superdome. But you know that this.
They we would have to go through the election.
Oh, well, the whole pro- yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
if they have that much money.
If they have that much money, they can do what they want. I mean,
Alright.
that's how it works out.
Are we good?
Can we read it? Can you bring it to us to the next?
But we have it.
yeah, we'll, so we're gonna present at the end all of these things for
Okay.
this one, because it's so complicated.
It is.
We'll bring it to the next one.
All right, so let's
Let's
just
do that.
finish this up. So
Finish this up, 'cause I have to-
we started a motion. We were taking roll call to approve that. What Tony just said. You seconded it.
I second it.
Do we have the ayes?
Ayes.
All right.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye, until I read.
All right.
All
We-
So
three,
who-
one.
they're gonna come back.
We
Yeah,
have
that
we have the ability to review everything that we have done here,
We're doing
correct?
aye or nay?
It's a review
We're not.
committee, it's not a
All right, so it's
absolute
Sandra, it's
committee.
4-0.
Yeah, it's 4-0, just so I need to read it.
4-0, Evelyn.
Motion carries.
3-1.
4-0.
4-0.
Can we,
It changed to 4-0?
Yeah, she voted in favor.
Yeah.
can we adjourn?
I want to keep you here all night.
Just for the record, your next meeting is March 8th.
Yep, I'm good.
I will not.
Ooh, I might not be here.
I won't be here either. I'm not
Wait, let me look. I did look at that thing, maybe that's.
Supposed to have all the dates in. Oh, April 5th is a problem.
Yeah, we
That
changed
got
that
moved.
one.
Oh, 5th, to what?
It's the new dates on your agenda packet.
Since they jumped.
Wednesday,
Last
March
page.
8th? No, I'm good.
Last page.
I took this from
All right. So, yep.
Okay, we good?
Wait, you still have April 5th. Yeah, you still have April 5th on here.
Yes.
Okay, ready to take another over?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait a minute. Still says April 5th.
Yeah, April 5th was removed and we added May 31st, I think it was.
Yes.
But the next meeting is March 8th.
I'd like to make a motion to say that Sandra's human and.
Man,
Should we put in the charter that she's
Human, we put it in the charter.
Should we,
Motion-
motion to adjourn?
Second, all in
Wait a minute,
favor?
Is it March
Aye.
8th?
Aye,
March
all
8th.
right.
All right, everybody, good
He's
job,
not
guys.
gonna be here.
I'm not here next agenda.
He is.
And he is not.
No, he is.
I'm here.
You're the chair.
All right,
Have fun.
thank you.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we did it.
Yeah, we did.
Zuckerman,
Second.
second.
Passed this amendment.
Good seeing you.
in March.
Everybody there, thank you for working hard, thank you guys.
Bye, thank you.
Very smart
We
stuff.
literally just passed Shannon in March. In March, the
All
vote.
right, I gotta go.
Yeah.
I have 755 Evelyn.
The voters just passed this to restrict 120 feet in March. So I don't know what that
Do you need to
entire
put this
hour
back in,
discussion
or,
was
Give me
about.
that one.
It was
I didn't
literally
see
11 months
that.
ago, it was already
took a hand
passed.
to do that.
Because if you don't set the minimum height, they will keep creeping up. 120 feet has to be measured from someplace. That was the point of the charter, was to anchor it someplace. So you guys look really ill
Just sign.
prepared to have this conversation. This is insane. When you look at the video and you watch what happened and the last amendment, it looks like a farce. Literally just passed by 70%
I signed
of
it.
voters,
I almost walked out.
including
Almost.
the no salary. That just got voted down by 70% as well. So you're basically trying to undo the will of the people, like 11 months later, when you didn't like the It's not, it's four people that don't know anything about history.
Hang on the clerk. Hang on the clerk. I see it right
They just fell
there.
off the charter and it's nothing about it, program that just passed 11 months ago. Okay, that was literally crafted in order to secure it from not going over the San Ramon. Okay, so that's what's going on here. Ezekiel, you're the only person who asked the right question because this just passed. So what he's trying to do is uncork